For over 1,000 years, the Vatican has held a position of unparalleled power and influence, shaping the course of history in ways few other institutions have ever managed. Nestled within the heart of Rome, its small, seemingly modest size belies its immense reach across both religious and political landscapes. Imagine, for a moment, a time when this tiny city-state was not just a religious epicenter but also a political powerhouse that wielded significant influence over kings, emperors, and entire nations. The Vatican's journey to power is, in many ways, a story of both faith and strategic brilliance. It began with the establishment of the Christian Church in Rome, where St. Peter, considered the first pope, laid the foundation for an institution that would evolve into one of the most formidable forces the world has ever known. Over time, the Vatican rose to prominence, not only as the spiritual center of Catholicism, but as a political entity that played a key role in the shaping of European geopolitics. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Vatican's power lies in its ability to combine spiritual authority with temporal influence. In the early days, it wasn't just about preaching the gospel. The Church became a central player in the formation of kingdoms and empires. As monarchs across Europe sought legitimacy, they often turned to the Pope, who had the power to crown rulers, granting them divine sanction in the eyes of their people. In return, the Vatican was granted vast estates, resources, and lands, which helped to further consolidate its power. This dynamic created an almost unbreakable bond between religion and politics, one that would endure for centuries. But the Vatican was not just a player in the political arena. It became the guardian of knowledge, culture, and history in a world that was rapidly changing. As the Roman Empire fell and Europe descended into the so-called Dark Ages, the Vatican became one of the few institutions to preserve and protect the classical knowledge of the ancient world. Its vast libraries housed manuscripts and scrolls that would otherwise have been lost to time. The Church also became a patron of the arts, commissioning works of incredible beauty, many of which remain masterpieces today. Artists like Michelangelo and Raphael found inspiration within the walls of the Vatican, and their creations, including the breathtaking Sistine Chapel ceiling, became symbols of both spiritual devotion and artistic genius. The Vatican's collection of sacred artifacts also played a critical role in shaping its identity. From the relics of saints to the pieces of the true cross, these holy treasures gave the Vatican an almost mythical status. They were not just objects of religious veneration, but symbols of the Church's power and authority. Pilgrims traveled from all corners of the globe, hoping to catch a glimpse of these sacred items, and in doing so, they bolstered the Vatican's influence even further. Yet, despite its overwhelming power, the Vatican has always remained a place of mystery. With its labyrinthian halls, hidden chambers, and centuries-old secrets, the Vatican holds an allure that extends far beyond its religious significance. It is a place where history, art, politics, and faith intertwine, creating a legacy that continues to shape our world today. Throughout history, the Vatican has not merely observed the unfolding of world events, it has actively shaped them, often steering the course of empires, kingdoms, and entire civilizations. Its influence reaches far beyond the walls of the Vatican City, intertwining with the very fabric of history. In particular, moments like the Crusades, the Renaissance, and the Inquisition stand out as examples of how the Vatican maintained its power and asserted control over both religious and secular matters. The Crusades, beginning in the late 11th century, serve as one of the most striking examples of the Vatican's influence on global events. When Pope Urban II called for the First Crusade in 1095, he didn't just inspire religious fervor, he unleashed a series of military campaigns that would redraw the map of Europe and the Middle East. The Vatican's involvement was not simply spiritual, it was political and military. The Pope's endorsement of the Crusades provided them with the authority of divine will, and as a result, the Vatican was able to guide these holy wars, often manipulating them to expand its influence and control. During the Renaissance, the Vatican continued to wield significant power, not just in matters of faith, but in shaping art, culture, and even politics. Popes like Julius II used their wealth and resources to patronize artists such as Michelangelo, commissioning works that reinforced the Vatican's image of divine authority. The Renaissance was not just a cultural rebirth, It was an era where the Vatican's influence was evident in every brushstroke, sculpted figure, and architectural marvel. The Inquisition, with its shadow over much of Europe, was another powerful example of the Vatican's control. It was through the Inquisition that the Church asserted its authority over heretics and dissenters, shaping not only religious but also political narratives across nations. In this way, the Vatican used its religious standing to dictate the very boundaries of belief, often molding the course of history through a complex blend of fear, power, and influence. Nestled within the heart of the Vatican, behind locked doors and guarded halls, lies an enigmatic collection of documents that have fueled both fascination and suspicion. For centuries, the Vatican's secret archives. Too many, these archives represent more than just a repository of historical records. They are seen as a vault of hidden knowledge, possibly containing secrets that could challenge the established narratives of history, religion, and even the very origins of civilizations. For centuries, the Vatican has fiercely protected access to these archives, and the mere mention of them sparks intrigue. What is contained within these secretive walls is largely unknown to the public. The Vatican claims that the archives hold records of historical importance, ranging from papal correspondence to ancient texts that date back to the very foundations of Christianity. However, few have been granted permission to delve into these forbidden pages, making the archives a breeding ground for speculation and mystery. Scholars and researchers who have managed to gain access speak of a vast labyrinth of documents, many of which are over 1,000 years old, some thought to hold truths that have been deliberately concealed. What secrets do these documents contain? Could they include evidence of long-lost civilizations, unrecorded events that changed the course of history, or suppressed knowledge about the Church's own role in shaping the world? Could there be ancient texts or maps that challenge our understanding of the past, or even evidence of alternate histories that have been erased from the official record? The Vatican has kept tight control over these archives, allowing only select individuals to examine the contents under strict supervision. This secrecy only deepens the sense of mystery, leaving us to wonder what knowledge might still be hidden, waiting to be uncovered. In a world where truth is often stranger than fiction, the Vatican's secret archives stand as one of history's greatest unanswered questions. For centuries, whispers have circulated about a single artifact hidden deep within the Vatican, a relic so powerful, so dangerous, that it is said to have been locked away in secrecy, far beyond the reach of all but the highest authorities. This is no ordinary holy object. It is a mysterious and potent artifact that many believe holds the key to unimaginable power that, if revealed, could alter the course of history forever. The myth of the forbidden artifact has captivated the imaginations of both scholars and conspiracy theorists alike, each wondering why the Vatican would go to such lengths to protect it. What is it about this artifact that makes it so dangerous? The legends speak of a relic imbued with ancient, almost mystical powers, an object linked to the earliest days of Christianity, possibly even to the life of Christ himself. Some claim it is an artifact of unimaginable power, capable of influencing the very fabric of reality or bending the will of those who possess it. Others suggest it holds secrets to knowledge lost to time, secrets that could unravel the foundations of the Church or reveal uncomfortable truths about the early days of Christianity. But why has the Vatican kept it hidden for so long? Theories abound. Some say the Church fears the artifact's power might be misused, either by those who would seek to manipulate the world with it, or by those who might want to destroy it. Others believe that revealing it could undermine the Vatican's authority, revealing too much about its history and the true origins of Christianity. The secrecy surrounding this artifact has only added to its allure, making it an object of intense fascination and, for many, an object of fear. Could it be that the Vatican is protecting the world from something it doesn't want anyone to uncover? Or is there something far more sinister at play? The answers remain locked away, hidden behind the Vatican's impenetrable walls. Behind the grand, ornate walls of the Vatican lies an incredible collection of sacred artifacts, many of which have remained shrouded in mystery for centuries. These objects, some revered for their religious significance and others whispered about for their enigmatic power, make up a hidden treasure trove that few have ever had the privilege to see. To imagine the Vatican as a vault of history and mysticism is not far from the truth. as it contains relics and manuscripts that stretch back to the very origins of Christianity and beyond. One of the most famous of these artifacts is the Shroud of Turin, a linen cloth believed by many to be the burial shroud of Jesus Christ himself. The shroud has long been the subject of intense debate. Is it truly the cloth that covered Christ after the crucifixion, or is it a medieval forgery? Despite centuries of scientific investigation, no one has yet been able to definitively answer that question. What is certain, however, is that the shroud is unlike any other artifact in the world, imbued with religious significance and drawing pilgrims from around the globe. Its presence within the Vatican adds a layer of mystique to the already impenetrable aura surrounding the Church's hidden treasures, yet the shroud is just one of many such items housed within the Vatican's vaults. There are ancient manuscripts, some written in long-forgotten languages, that could hold secrets too early. Christian beliefs and rituals, shedding light on the faith's development over time. Some scholars even suggest these texts could rewrite the story of Christianity itself, offering insights into lost gospels and texts that were deliberately excluded from the Bible. These ancient books, some of them bound in weathered golden leather, are preserved with the utmost care, their true contents known only to a select few. In addition to these manuscripts, the Vatican is also said to possess relics that are nothing short of extraordinary objects that have played key roles in the Christian story. One such relic is the alleged True Cross, a fragment of the wood believed to be from the cross upon which Jesus was crucified. Though countless fragments of the True Cross are said to exist in various places around the world, the Vatican's is considered one of the most authentic and revered. These treasures, however, are not just religious symbols, they carry an immense weight of history. To think about the thousands of years of human history that are locked away behind the Vatican's guarded doors, filled with forgotten relics and mysteries, is to feel a sense of awe at the vastness of what is hidden. What secrets could these artifacts reveal? What knowledge has been preserved for centuries, waiting to be discovered? The answers remain just beyond our grasp, kept safe by the Church's ancient, unyielding walls, dot by lamplight in a quiet vault. Imagine a librarian easing open a cedar chest and lifting a crackling scroll that smells faintly of dust and myrrh. Some say the Vatican keeps such texts, desert parchments, river-recovered codices, even tablets pressed with marks older than Latin set. Aside from hurried eyes, they speak, perhaps, in rival voices, sages and seekers, apostles who wrote by moonlight, nameless travelers who set down what they saw and dared not proclaim aloud. If these pages exist, they might stretch the story we've learned since childhood, a hymn beside a star chart, a prayer threaded with observations of strange seasons and forgotten skies, a chronicle that places the first fires, not in one cradle, but in many, flickering across mountains and coasts at once. The comfort, we're told, is simple. The words on these leaves might be patient and complicated. Some whisper of gospels that emphasize doubt as a sacred tool, or letters suggesting early communities argued tenderly about the nature of the soul. There could be fragments that hint humans felt old, long before kingdoms had names. That we measured our steps by comets and tides, not only by kings and calendars. One page might set the breath of God alongside the breath of forests, making creation both intimate and vast. Would such writings contradict familiar teachings or cradle them more gently? Perhaps they reveal that faith and discovery have always shared a table, passing the same cup. Perhaps they offer a map where evolution is not a rival to spirit, but its patient unfolding. If so, these texts would not erase what we believe. They would deepen it, like lowering a lantern into a well and finding, far below, a second sky reflected back. And then, when the lantern rises, the stars seem nearer, kinder, newly named again, on a clear Roman night. When the bells quiet and the Tiber turns to dark silk, the Vatican lifts its gaze above the city. At the Vatican Observatory, lenses sweep the darkness in patient arcs, listening as much as looking. In courtyards and on distant mountaintops, the Church keeps telescopes that drink starlight, tended by scholars in white collars and soft shoes. Officially, the observatory is a house of learning. Unofficially, it is where rumors gather like moths, searching for a window left ajar. Whispers say signals have brushed our skies, with patterns too tidy for chance. A blink on a plate that returns, season after season, as if keeping an appointment. Some claim old manuscripts hold star maps, annotated with symbols no scribe could explain, as though a visiting teacher once traced routes between quiet suns. Others go further, telling of discreet conversations, encoded exchanges, even a visitor whose eyes reflected constellations no atlas holds. The Vatican answers with careful statements about spectra and dust, then closes the file and turns out the lamp. Why hide such wonders, if they exist? Faith is delicate glass, sudden thunder can shatter it, or perhaps the Church believes mystery needs shelter to ripen, that truths too new for daylight should first learn our language in the dark. Others imagine a simpler motive, guardianship. Maybe it fears not heaven's breadth, but our hands how we quarrel over names, build walls from revelations, crown ourselves with fragile certainties. If contact began in a whisper, better to hold it gently than let it break in the marketplace. Picture a small room at dawn, a priest astronomer setting down a cup, reading a message that begins, "Dear neighbors." He breathes, writes back, and waits. Whatever is known, the stars keep their slow counsel, and we listen and wait. On a winter night in Paris, torches trembled against stone as the Knights Templar were seized, their brothers dragged from chapter houses and ships. Behind the arrests stood kings and whispers, but in the shadows people imagined another hand, a distant city of keys, watching with cool caution. The Vatican had blessed the Templars, once warrior eunuchs, sworn to protect pilgrims, bankers of a restless age, custodians of routes that stitched Jerusalem to the far coasts. Now their downfall felt like a curtain drawn across a stage where too many eyes had gathered. Between the founding and the fire, there ran a braid of secrets. The Templars learned to move across borders like wind, ledgers in cipher, reliquaries wrapped in sailcloth, rumors tucked into saddlebags. Some said they kept a map no king had seen, others that they guarded a chalice with no Sheenan idea as much as a cup. In churches they built, light fell in careful angles, as if the stone itself remembered a code. The Vatican watched, approving, then uneasy. Too much wealth, too many private altars, too many doors that opened without Rome's key, and the Grail always the Grail slipped between legend and inventory. Was it a vessel that touched a famous table, or a lineage, or a book of words too radiant for daylight? If such a thing ever passed from hand to hand, the Templars would have known the weight of it. Perhaps they vowed to keep it moving, so no throne could claim it. Perhaps Rome, wary of a relic that could crown faith without a pope, preferred its silence to its ceremony. When the orders came to dissolve the order, fires were lit, confessions coaxed, treasures tallied and declared ordinary. Yet the ledgers rarely balance. Carts departed before dawn, chapels emptied overnight, and coastal monasteries learned the language of departure. In the Vatican's archives, a folder closes. In a harbor, a hole dips under secret cargo. What binds them still is not proof but pattern. Power, making room for itself by dimming rival lights. The Templars vanished into legend, the Grail into a question, and the Vatican endured, steady as a bell after the hand has left the rope. Listen long enough, though, and you may hear hooves beyond the walls, and the soft ring of a cup set down where no one was supposed to drink. The night keeps counsel. Picture a midnight meeting in a room with no windows, where the lamps are shaded and the maps are old. A handful of figures sit quietly, a banker who speaks in interest rates, a minister who speaks in treaties, and a clerk who knows which keys open which doors in Rome. They do not trade gold so much as stories, the kind that tilt the horizon when you hear them. We are told history is public, printed in books and taught in bright classrooms. But there is another version, folded small and kept in private pockets, timelines patched with missing years, artifacts misnamed on purpose, margins where human beginnings look less tidy. In this telling, the Vatican is a keeper among keepers. It curates silence as carefully as it preserves art, sharing light by the teaspoon. Alongside it move other houses of influence, dynasties with private archives, universities that have locked stacks within their locked stacks, think tanks that write tomorrow's weather before clouds arrive. Together they do not form a single throne, but a patient choir that knows when to sing and when to hum. Why hide what we are? Some say fear, that new origins undo old orders, that faith, markets, and borders slip when people see farther than the fence. Others say stewardship, that crowds can trample delicate truths before they ripen. Either way, secret knowledge becomes currency. It buys alliances, delays revolutions, and turns leaders into borrowers who must ask permission to learn. Asterisk. And the world we see, it runs on official versions, clean timelines, settled meanings, carefully named stars. Yet every so often a page escapes, a relic surfaces, a word is misheard and spreads like dawn. Power shuffles, adjusts its lampshade, and the meeting continues, one windowless room at a time, and outside, the city sleeps. Perhaps it isn't a chalice or a shard of wood at all. Perhaps the most dangerous artifact is smaller, quieter, palm-sized, wrapped in linen, and numbered in a hand only a few remember. It sits where the air is cool and the lights are very patient, an object with a history that refuses to end. Some say it hums when storms gather. Some say whoever reads its name aloud dreams the same dream for 7 nights, a shore of black glass, a sky like a wound, a voice that asks for a promise. What could it be? A gospel that doesn't fit on a shelf, a device from a century that hasn't arrived, a key cut for a door humanity has not dared to open, or simply a fragment that proves a story we were never meant to learn. The Vatican calls it blessed, then sealed. Couriers change routes, ledgers gain a new line, a bell rings at noon, and no one notices the echo is not quite right. By lantern glow, we return to the shelves where the dust tastes faintly of salt and cedar, and we ask a quiet question: what books were set aside, and why? Some carry names like distant bells: the Gospel of Thomas, the Book of Enoch, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Judas. Others are known by where they slept: scrolls from caves beside a sea, codices lifted from jars near Nag Hammadi, pages smoothed by monks who whispered their lines as prayers. They feel like stars just outside the official constellation, near enough to guide a traveler, distant enough to be ignored by maps. Thomas opens like a door without hinges, sayings, not stories, a teacher who asks us to look within, as though the kingdom were a lamp hidden in our ribs. Enoch walks even farther, telling of watchers who crossed the heavens and taught forbidden arts, a tale that stretches the night until it almost splits. Mary speaks with tender, steady courage, hinting that revelation arrived in breath and vision, not only in halls of power. Judas turns the familiar drama song, proposing that betrayal may have worn a mask. We were not meant to see. Between these whispers move others, quiet. The Didache explains how a small community might live with grace, how to welcome, how to break bread, how to test a wandering prophet's smile. The shepherd of Hermas dreams in symbols, a tower rising stone by stone, forgiveness folded like linen and used again. The infancy stories of James' cradle, legends about beginnings, footsteps in soft earth, a mother's first yes, a father's patient awe. Each text angles the lantern differently, and the room looks new in the changed light. If such writings waited in guarded drawers, what truths might they be nursing? Perhaps they suggest the earliest church was a chorus, not a solo. That authority was once a campfire where many sat, taking turns with the song. Maybe they placed the sacred nearer than we think, inside thought and touch, in the way a carpenter's hands learn the grain of wood, in the quiet bravery of names trimmed from margins. They might whisper that doubt is not a crack but a doorway, that searching is itself a kind of prayer. Or they might widen our sky. Enoch's watchers could be poetry, or memory, or something strange, a reminder that our story has always listened for footsteps beyond the fence. A Logian from Thomas asks for eyes turned inward, while Mary's pages insist intimacy with the divine is a practice kept alive in small rooms. Judas sketches a world where blame is too simple, and mercy has more than one key. Imagine these works sleeping under patient keys, not destroyed, simply deferred. Picture a librarian who loves both scripture and questions, setting them down like candles in a hallway, rather than torches in a square. The canon offers a straight road through the valley. These texts lay side paths toward overlooks we seldom visit. None need replace the road, yet for the traveler awake at night, they offer a map that glows faintly in the dark, inviting one more step. At dawn the Tiber breathes a silver mist, and somewhere inside the walls a key turns. The Vatican's hoard did not arrive in a single triumph. It gathered like snow, flake by flake. When the empire dimmed, bishops became stewards, rescuing scrolls from shuttered schools and villas. Monasteries copied what they could not save, and the copies came to Rome packets of breath from lost rooms. For those willing to listen closely, pilgrims brought gifts: a bone wrapped in linen, a small icon folded in wax, a letter signed by a saint's friend. Princes sent bequests to buy favor or forgiveness. Crusaders returned with reliquaries and charter books, some ransomed, some bartered at border gates. Merchants carried codices from Alexandria and Antioch. Sailors tucked Syriac gospels beside their bread. Later, Arabic commentaries returned Aristotle to Europe, and humanists, hungry for older voices, sold entire libraries to popes who paid in gold. Missionaries shipped chests from the world's rim Ethiopian hymns, Mexican catechisms, Chinese maps pricked with stars. The Jesuits stitched a web of letters and observatories. Inquisitors seized manuscripts but often shelved them. The index condemned, yet preserved. A forbidden book is safest when it sleeps under your key. Nuncios forwarded dispatches from courts. Artists were paid with sketches that became memory. And always, the archives thickened treaties, testaments, marginal notes that outlived their authors. Why hidden? Partly mercy to paper. Vellum cracks at breath. Ink fades beneath touch. Partly weather, politics gusts, and a mistimed truth can split peace. Partly stewardship and, yes, power. Interpretation crowns the interpreter. To unveil is to choose a lens. So the doors open, a ribbon slipped from a bundle, a leaf offered like a wafer. Outside, bells carry. Inside, the silence arranges itself, patient as a librarian's hand, promising what survives will speak when the world is quiet, in a quiet room of quills and dust. Imagine a scribe pausing, knife poised to scrape a line from a parchment leaf. History often changed in gestures that small. When bishops gathered to fix a single creed, other melodies fell softly out of tune. Teachings that placed the divine flame inside each seeker voices we now call Gnostic were judged too unruly for a faith that needed one road, one map, one lamp at the center of the square. Some wrote of secret sayings and inner sight, of Sophia and the soul's ascent, of salvation as awakening rather than obedience. Such pages unsettled councils and pulpits. Unity was fragile. Empire and church shared the same weather. So letters were denounced, teachers named and unnamed, and shelves were thinned. A sermon could unwrite a reputation. An edict could turn a library into echoes. Yet even while exposing error, the church kept samples of it, tucked away for references if to know what must be. Centuries later, desert jars would betray their secrets, and codices from caves would return like long-lost travelers. Their voices felt both strange and familiar, the way an old lullaby does when a missing verse appears. The official story had never been the only story. It had simply been the safest to tell in public squares. Censorship wore many faces. The index that listed books not to open. Inquisitors who questioned more than kindled. Printers who chose silence to keep their shops and sons at night. Manuscripts were redacted, copied without dangerous lines, or shelved beyond ordinary hands. Condemnation became a kind of bookmark. Was it fear, care, or power that pressed those pages shut? Perhaps all three. Behind locked doors, some teachings slumbered rather than died, waiting for a patient reader to lift the ribbon and breathe them awake. Imagine the Library of Alexandria as night fell, lamplight wavering across shelves, scribes tying scrolls for travel, a whisper that flames were coming. We are told its knowledge vanished like smoke. Yet another story lingers in the corridors of Rome. Not all embers died at sea. Some were cupped in careful hands, ferried by monks, merchants, and commanders who preferred quiet to spectacle, and delivered to doors where keys already waited. The Vatican appears here like a harbor after a storm. When empires shifted and libraries cracked, collectors blessed and opportunists disguised as rescuers moved texts inland, fragments from Alexandria, copies from Pergamon, scraps echoed in the House of Wisdom's translations, rumors of codices spared from fires that later erased Mayan memory. A chest might travel under relics, a folio might ride beneath a banner. The difference between salvage and seizure was a prayer said over the cargo. Was this guardianship or gate? Both, perhaps. Rome understood that knowledge is most powerful when organized, catalogued and rationed, carefully, deliberately so. Fragile leaves require shade. Dangerous ideas require context, so the Church stacked what it could salvage in rooms with measured air, then decided who could breathe that air. Access is a theology of its own. There are letters hinting that missionaries boxed curiosities from temples along the Nile. There are accounts of scholars granted a day with a manuscript that seemed older than its label, then denied a second. And there are silences, gaps where a book should be, as if the sea claimed it, or a vault dot. If the world's lost libraries truly scattered like constellations, Rome may have learned to chart their pieces. Imagine a map of rescued stars folded inside a drawer. Someday, someone will unfold it, and the sky we thought we knew will rearrange with a gentler light. At the edge of midnight, imagine a courier crossing the colonnade, carrying a letter sealed with wax. Inside, a priest breaks the seal and finds a symbol he recognizes from a margin in a missile. The lines speak politely, yet beneath the politeness hums an invitation. Meet where the clocks forget their names. So begin the whispers of contactor correspondence with lodges that build in shadow, with orders that prefer twilight. They call themselves caretakers of memory, craftsmen of geometry, keepers of lanterns lit before empires learned their alphabets. In some tellings they are Freemasons, in others, Illuminati, Rosicrucians, Hermetic heirs who read the stars like scripture. They are said to trade more than artifacts. They barter patience, passwords, and the quiet discipline of not saying everything. What could the Vatican want from such circles, and what might those circles want from Rome in return? Perhaps they exchange maps of old alignments, cathedral stones that echoed desert temples, corridors built to catch equinox light exactly once yearly. Perhaps a Jesuit astronomer passes a diagram across a wooden table, and a lodge master slides back a compass. Perhaps a banker loyal to 2 altars describes a reliquary's route, and receives a key to a door without hinges. The traffic is not gold or grain. It is the choreography of knowledge, boxed and labeled, moved by night. One story tells of an oath sworn in a sacristy, promising to shelter a text that unsettles the tidy calendar. Another recalls a ledger page torn neatly away, its missing number echoed later in a chapel floor's careful tiling pattern. Are these histories, metaphors, or carefully placed decoys to keep hunters circling the wrong hill? Whether true or not, the shape of the rumor teaches its own lesson. Alliances form where needs entwine. Rome seeks order. Hidden societies cultivate resilience. Both guard stories that can move crowds faster than soldiers ever could. Shared custody becomes a doctrine of convenience, stewardship in public, experiment in private, and a ledger referencing only the parcel. This arrangement comforts those who believe power should walk softly past sleeping towns, follow it down steps worn smooth by centuries, under a great where lamplight pools like rainwater, listen at a door with no handle, where 2 breaths pause before they speak a phrase learned long ago. Then the hinges remembered themselves, and a room opens, and another map awaits the balancing of hands by candlelight. A monk smooths a page, and the story of a century bends a little. The Vatican has long worked in gestures like that. Quiet edits, firm choices, a bell rung so that the past arrives in one clear voice. When people ask about Jesus, they meet a life arranged like a path of lamps, 4 gospels kept, many others set aside, a creed hammered bright enough to guide sailors through storms. Councils gathered and argued until the words fit, then messengers carried them to altars. Scribes copied the lines that won, and those lines grew roots. Painters learned where to place light on a face. Carvers learned which scene deserved a doorway. Feast days, relics, and pilgrim roads stitched the same tale city to city, until a traveler can close his eyes and know the shape of the next chapel's walls. When presses began to thunder, Rome pressed back with lists and licenses. The index warned which books could bruise the flock. Imprimators blessed pages safe to hold. Translators who strayed were coaxed, corrected, or quietly set down. A parish learned the faith through homilies. Scholars learned it through permissions. In both cases, the Vatican held the key to the shelf. Time was gently tilted into order. The calendar reset itself to a pope's decree. Easter found its place, and the year obeyed. Miracles were examined by careful boards. Saints given names only after the archives breathed. Yes, inquisitors wrote records as neat as lace, and those records fixed memories in place, while others thinned to rumor. What's this, protection or power? Perhaps both. What we inherit then is a gallery curated by many hands but signed with one seal. Step softly, another quiet hallway waits, and the next frame might hold a face we've not yet learned to name. Night falls over a square where torches hiss, and a door opens to a chamber of questions. The Inquisition did not begin with flames. It began with files, names folded into ledgers, testimonies gathered like dry twigs. Rome framed it as medicine for a fevered age, a way to heal the body of faith. Yet the cure felt like a tightened band around the chest, each turn asking for one more breath, one more answer. Clerics traveled with mandates and measuring sticks. Doctrine was weighed on scales, and people were asked to balance beside it. Some confessed to spare their children. Others recanted and kept a small spark hidden behind the tongue. A few refused and learned the vocabulary of chains. The goal was purity, or so the parchment said. But in the corridors, power walked quietly, counting what could be controlled. Books were seized as if they were masks. Margins were scraped clean. Altars were stripped of local saints whose stories strayed too far into forest light. Healers became suspects. Midwives, rumors, philosophers, puzzles to be solved by decree. The machinery of investigation chattered like a loom, weaving a pattern in which dissent disappeared. Records multiplied. Not all were cruel. Some inquisitors argued for mercy, noted when evidence thinned to smoke. Even so, archives swelled with sealed proceedings, testimonies under duress, lists of confiscated reliquaries, and small household idols that smelled of home. Secrets retreated indoors. A disputed gospel vanished into a chest. A charm, once tied above a cradle, found a label and a shelf. What was concealed? Contradictions, certainly pages that taught another way to pray, maps to holy places without official doors. Also grief, the quiet cost of frightened hearts. When the torches died, the ledgers remained, and Rome kept the keys. The silence learned everyone's true names. Power in Rome does not always shout. Often it moves like incense, rising and circling until the room agrees to breathe with it. The Vatican learned early that control is a craft of small motions, a hand on a ledger, a seal on a letter, a blessing that opens one door and quietly closes another. Coins clinked into coffers not only for altars, but for bridges of influence, stipends, benefices, dispensations, threads that could draw distant cities into a single weave dot to hold souls. You tend their calendars, feast days, fasts, jubilees, each hour named, each doubt invited to kneel. To hold princes you count differently, loans forgiven or recalled, marriages granted or annulled, crowns approved in rooms where daylight was filtered through painted saints. In one register the church kept relics, in another it kept favors. Wealth grew the way ivy does silently, until the wall is fully dressed. Estates, rents, indulgences, patronage. The finances of devotion became the architecture of authority. When storms rose rosiformers preaching in bright squares, kings testing their borders, the Vatican replied with councils, concordats, and the soft iron of diplomacy. A nuncio's whisper could shift a campaign. An archive's silence could bury it. How far would it go? As far as guardianship could be named virtue. Books were guided into careful shadows. Preachers were corrected, or moved, or unmade. Movements that threatened to scatter the flock met fences built of doctrine and debt. Even art obeyed. Commissions taught where eyes should rest, which stories deserved a halo, which wounds to remember, and which to bind in gold leaf. Yet there is tenderness in the machinery of belief that order protects. Power says it is keeping the candles from the wind, and perhaps it is. Still, someone always wonders who chooses the candles, and whose wind must be kept outside. Deep in the Vatican, there are rooms that feel like the inside of a clock, quiet, precise, and full of secrets that keep the world's time. Shelves glow with guarded patience. Cabinets breathe the scent of cedar and ink. Here, treasures wait, as if listening for their names. There are reliquaries that hold slivers of saints' bones, threads from robes worn thin by prayer, a rust-dark nail that people say once tasted storm and blood. A small glass ampule glints with a mysterious crust, opened only when a bishop's hands no longer tremble. Nearby rests a folded veil said to silence a fever when laid upon a brow. Whether faith or fiber does the healing, the ledger stays discreet. Manuscripts lie under muslin like sleeping birds, a gospel that begins with a whisper, a map that places Eden not in a garden but along a river of stars. Margins carry drawings of machines no artisan admits to building, notes in hurried Latin describing lights over a visitor whose words refuse to be captured by any grammar. In one case, a polished sphere no larger than an apple holds a sky that does not match ours. The surface changes when the room darkens. Curators call it a meteorite and look away too soon. Another drawer shelters a tube of unknown alloy, etched with intervals that align with no calendar, humming faintly when storms lean on Rome. Why keep them secret? Some objects bend devotion so quickly that crowds would break upon them. Some challenge familiar maps and would pull borders like thread. Some are fragile, and knowledge is a wind that can ruin as well as reveal. And some, perhaps, are keys awaiting doors we do not yet know to seek. Their power is not only in miracles or mechanisms, it is in the stories they could release. A saint who wrote with a star's vocabulary, a traveler who charted a route between sacraments and constellations, a people who prayed in patterns the sun confirmed twice a year. The vaults hold the possibility that our history is larger than our rooms. To protect that possibility, the doors close softly, and the golden keys return to the guard's ring. Outside, pilgrims drift past fountains, never knowing what sleeps beneath their footsteps. Inside, candle flame steadies, and the old mechanisms tick on, patient, waiting for the one question that fits the lock tonight. Night settles over Rome like a velvet seal, and beneath the colonnades the stones keep older promises than any visitor suspects. Stairways sink below the chapels, past frescoes and sarcophagi into chambers where the air holds iron and incense. There are whispers of corridors mapped on skin, of doors that open only when two prayers are spoken at once. Somewhere in that hush sits the thing we've chased through rumors and footnotes, the artifact said to bend stories, the way gravity bends light. Is it scripture or engine, relic or riddle, a shard that makes compasses doubt, a page that refuses to burn, a device that counts a calendar we have not yet reached? The guardians call it blessed, others call it dangerous because it changes whoever dares to name it. Before the marble colonnades and the measured sweep of Swiss halberds, there was a hill of graves. Rome called it Vaticanis, a wind-brushed rise beyond the Tiber, where traders crossed and lamplight thinned into fields. On that slope, Christians gathered at night beside a humble monument, saying a fisherman slept there, Peter, who had walked on rough water, and, at the end, on the rougher stones of the city, a simple shrine grew into a small church, a place for tears and bread and whispered courage. Empires turned like seasons. When the world's loudest voices faded, the little church kept speaking in low tones. Bishops took up tasks emperors had dropped, feeding strangers, settling quarrels, burying the forgotten. Authority, at first, was stewardship. Power arrived later, step by careful step. Gifts began to arrive with the pilgrims' coins land, letters sealed with wax, relics wrapped in linen. Each gift was a thread. Threads become rope. By the time builders imagined a basilica worthy of Peter's memory, the hill had learned to draw power quietly. Popes negotiated peace between quarrelsome princes, or decided where a marriage might bind to countries like stitched cloth. A blessing could steady a throne, a refusal could tilt it. The City of Keys discovered the leverage of conscience. If you could absolve a king, you could also make him wait at the gate. Yet much of the early ascent hides in the seams. Wars shuffled archives, fires 8 minutes, victories were polished, and embarrassments folded away like fragile maps. Legend says tunnels honeycomb the hill, that beneath altars lie rooms where old ledgers breathe slower than the city above. Perhaps the silence protects delicate truths from weather, perhaps it protects reputations. In either case, gaps remain useful, elastic gaps where stories can turn. Meanwhile, the Vatican learned 3 crafts: time, memory, and doors. Time, calendars reset by papal decree, years taught to keep holy rhythm. Memory, libraries where fading ink found shelter, and a refusal to discard even the troublesome page. Doors, diplomacy by corridor, emissaries who carried Rome's voice in soft envelopes to hard courts. Stone by stone the small church became a city-state, and the fisherman's tomb a compass. Artists traced light on ceilings to teach a sky-bound story. Scholars debated under frescoes, while messengers waited in shaded courtyards. Wealth arrived, then responsibility, then the habit of caution. An institution that outlives kings must learn to breathe slowly and hide its lungs. So the origins remain half-lit. A grave that drew a path, a shrine that learned politics, a shepherd's house that sprouted keys and walls. We can read the public pages, the councils, the basilicas, the treaties, but the margins are soft with thumbprints we cannot name. Listen to the floor under St. Peter's. It holds the drumbeat of beginnings. Follow it, and you will hear not a trumpet, but a net lifting from dark water, heavy with futures the city has yet to confess. What began as mourning became mastery, and mastery learned to hide in plainess. At dusk, on the Vatican hill, the stones remember older hymns, softly. Before chrism and Latin psalms, there were laurel crowns, augurs reading, ski signs, and processions for gods, whose names tasted of iron and rain. Rome did not vanish when Christianity rose. It folded its garments and stepped into the new sanctuary. The early church learned the city's language of ritual and pageantry, then taught it. Temples fell silent, but their habits wandered across the river. A winter feast for the invincible sun found a cradle near a manger. Springs once blessed for Juno became fonts where infants gleamed. Vestal vigilance gave way to sanctuary lamps that never die. Even the word basilica traveled from imperial court to holy nave, carrying authority like a scent in its sleeve. Was this compromise or genius? Both, perhaps. People trust what feels familiar. By weaving old threads through a tapestry, bishops stitched a common cloth that could wrap an empire's hearts. Yet the weave left patterns only priests could read. Calendars, colors, and gestures kept meaning simple for the square, deeper for the sacristy. Some customs were hidden in plain sight, others set aside in drawers. In marble courtyards, converters of shrines bargained with stonemasons. Keep the columns, turn the altar. Out in the countryside, saints quietly replaced household spirits, blessing fields where lares once listened. And under Rome's feet, catacomb prayers learned the acoustics of old Mithria, where light still enters exactly on cue. Did the Vatican preserve these echoes as bridges or as reins? Tradition can comfort or command, depending on the hand upon it. What matters is that the past was not erased, it was choreographed, and somewhere behind a locked door, a ledger records which steps were borrowed, which steps were taught, and which steps no crowd will ever see. By torchlight, in a half-emptied temple, a magistrate watches priests carry out statues wrapped in linen, their faces veiled like witnesses. The edict says the gods must sleep, and Rome learns a new choreography. Altars overturned at dawn, tablets scraped smooth by noon, and by evening a cross raised where laurel once hung. The story later told is tidy swift conversion, idols yielding to truth. But the dust remembers struggle. Cupboards of scrolls sealed, lamps hidden under floor tiles, melodies barred from festivals, then reborn as hymns in a new key. Scribes received instructions as soft as threats. Copy this, not that. If a line praises Jupiter, revise the metaphor. If a rite names Pan, rename the hillside. Libraries were purified, which often meant lists with red ink and wagons that left before sunrise. Some texts were burned because they faltered into sorcery. Others vanished because they taught people to love the seasons without asking permission. Rural shrines were dismantled with courtesy, their stones processed into churches, their patrons given saints who resembled them just enough to keep the peace. Why erase? Power prefers a single calendar and one set of maps. Competing stories are rival roads, and crowds wander when the crossroads sings. By narrowing what could be read, bishops narrowed what could be imagined. The past was not merely condemned, it was curated, a ritual trimmed here, a feast rescheduled there, a proverb baptized and returned to market bearing a new signature, yet traces survived. A corn dolly tucked behind an altar, a charm stitched into a pilgrim's hem, a star name hidden inside a saint's day. And in the archives, the silence keeps its own minutes, as if waiting for someone to ask which edits were mercy and which were design. Soon, another door opens, and questions follow downstairs. On certain nights, when maps lay open like wounds, couriers crossed Rome with envelopes that smelled of wax and rain. In chancery rooms lit by green lamps, men in carsecks read cables from embassies and war offices, and answered in phrases smooth as river stones. The world called it neutrality, Inside the walls it felt like chess played with candles. One move meant to save a bishop, the next to keep the board from burning. In the First Great War, priests blessed letters home while envoys measured words like rations. A whisper to Vienna, a caution to Paris, a quiet plea to Berlin and shouted, all meant to slow a machine already roaring. When empires collapsed, the Vatican gathered names of the missing and traded them like seeds. A mercy that also planted trust. Some say a boundary moved because a sentence did. Others say the sentences simply kept the breath in wounded lungs. The Second War folded darkness deeper. Trains groaned past monasteries. Bells rang and then were muffled. Inside hidden rooms, lists of the hunted grew, and so did the roots to hide them. Convent attics, seminary cellars, baptismal papers that turned a child into someone the soldiers would overlook. In other rooms, diplomats weighed how loud sorrow could be without closing a door that might, tomorrow, let a life escape. Statements came measured, water for a flame that might otherwise race through the city. Leaders arrived by back staircases. Some asked for blessing, some for time, some for a way to leave by night. The answers were rarely clean. To curse too boldly could harden a tyrant. To speak too softly could shame the sanctuary. So the Vatican learned the grammar of almost. Condemn the evil, preserve the corridor, keep the phone line alive. After the guns, the files remained telegrams with fingerprints of fear. Receipts for bread, unsigned notes in a careful hand. Historians will argue over who knew and when. The City of Keys does not rush to correct them. Somewhere a drawer still holds a draft that might change the color of a memory. Until it opens, we are left with corridors and echoes. Faith trying to be cunning. Power trying to be kind, and a small light carried through a very large night. Perhaps the archive knows, but the pages wait, patient as stone, for the question brave enough to call them into daylight again. In a city of shadows and bells, the war's second act pressed Rome like a thumbprint. Diplomats slipped through cloisters after dusk. Typewriters clicked behind curtained windows. The Vatican stood publicly neutral, yet its corridors filled with questions no communique could answer. Some praised careful diplomacy. Others heard only a hush where thunder was expected. Before the storm, a concordat had neatened relations with Germany, granting space for worship and schools, while asking politics to keep its distance. When the storm broke, neutrality became a narrow bridge. From it, envoys sent guarded protests. In cellars, nuns and priests hid families, forged baptisms, and passed bread through latticed doors. And still, critics would ask, was the bridge too quiet, while trains rattled south by night? Files after the armistice carry a different chill. Rumors gather of Ratlin's escape routes threaded through monasteries and consulates. Travel papers appeared like conjurers' scarves. Red Cross documents, new names, a ship's ticket tucked inside a bridge. Some clergy claimed mercy for any soul hunted by vengeance. Others, politics sharpened to realism, feared a red dawn more than a black flag's fading echo. Between compassion and calculation, passage was granted, and men who should have faced courts. Was this collusion, moral triage, or both? Historians' lamps sweep the archives and return with inconsistent light. Letters hint at aid. Other pages show rescues of the persecuted, pleas for restraint, nights when church gates opened only inward. The record is a palimpsest accusation written over absolution, courage written over caution. What remains certain is the ache beneath the marble, choices made in secrecy that still bruise the present. Somewhere, a sealed folder waits with dates that will feel like doors opening. Until then, the hallway holds its breath, and the bells do not explain themselves. Not yet. In a room tasting of cedar and smoke, a curator lifts a velvet cloth, and time wakes slowly. The Vatican's treasures rarely parade. They breathe in cupboards and reliquaries, waiting for a patient fingertip. Here a scroll rests on reed rods, letters browned like autumn leaves, perhaps a homily hinting at a fifth gospel, or a travelogue from a pilgrim who swore the stars corrected his compass. Beside it lies a codex stitched with gold, margins diagramming a device that counts feast days by turning stars. There is a reliquary the size of a child's heart, said to hold a thorn that will not rust. A vial turns milky when storms roll over the Tiber. An icon painted on cedar glows through smoke, as if lit beneath the paint, its halo pricked with constellations that match no chart we keep. One cabinet hides a map that treats rivers like sentences, flowing toward a word we no longer pronounce. Another shelters a crystal sphere that shows a fragment of sky where unfamiliar moons drift in patient rhythm. Why keep such wonders hidden? Fragility is one reasoning, wilts at breath. Fabrics collapse under curiosity. Another is weather. Revelations arrive like squalls, and crowds can stampede what they love. And there is custody of meaning. Objects speak many tongues. Shown too quickly, they are drafted into quarrels. They were never built to fight. Some artifacts change devotion by quiet reordering, the way a new star shifts a shepherd's route. Yet secrecy is also a story. A closed door makes the listener lean closer. A sealed box lets possibility bloom. Perhaps the church waits for questions shaped with patience. Until then, the velvet falls, the key returns to its ring, and the treasures keep watch, holding what we were, and what we might remember. By lamplight in a corridor that smells of ink and rain, a clerk unlocks a door, and the Vatican's secret archives inhale, not a dungeon of fantasy, but miles of shelves where paper has learned to sleep. Here, power keeps its memory, papal bulls stamped in lead, letters traded with emperors, diaries from envoys who wrote by candle while boarders moved outside their windows. There are ledgers that track donations and debts like arteries, instructions to inquisitors tied with ribbon, and testimonies ... elsewhere. Maps that stretch oceans thin as parchment, as though the world were a manuscript to be edited. Margins bloom with corrections, a place renamed, a route erased, a coastline drawn straighter after a treaty. There are astronomical logs from observatories under colder skies, notes beside sketches of devices meant to measure grace and gravity alike. A drawer holds baptismal records that turned fugitives into cousins overnight. Another holds a letter never sent, asking for mercy history never received. Access is a ritual. Scholars enter by appointment, gloves on, hours rationed, questions narrowed until even curiosity must whisper. Catalogues describe without revealing. References point to doors that open only inward. Some volumes appear once, then vanish again, as if the shelf itself were a tide. What could be hidden here that might revise the world we think we know? Perhaps an early gospel that softens blame, or a chronicle naming saints who doubted publicly and were loved for it. Perhaps a treaty drafted at midnight that exchanged a border for a relic. Perhaps a report from a mission that found an altar older than any temple in Rome. Or a plain memorandum. How to manage a miracle so it blesses without breaking. Manipulation or stewardship whose hand is on the scale. The archive preserves even what it condemns, which means the past survives, but under supervision. When the keys turn, history walks in wearing the coat it has been given, and still, certain folders breathe like sleeping animals. Open one, and a century looks back. Close it, and the room goes wonderfully, terribly quiet, as if the pages had agreed to keep our questions waiting a little longer. Maybe that is the truest secret. The archive is not merely a place, but a method. It chooses seasons. It lets truths ripen, or wither, according to weather, and watchmen, and keys. On a hot July night in 1947, when thunderheads stacked like cathedrals over the New Mexico plains, a different bell seemed to ring in Rome. In the Apostolic Palace, a shortwave receiver crackled in a Jesuit astronomer's study. The message was clipped, militarily, strange, debris recovered, witnesses stirred, explanations pending. Long before newspapers spoke of weather balloons, a quiet cable is said to have crossed the Atlantic, and another, older network began to listen. The Vatican knew the sky. Its observatories kept diaries of meteors and odd returns, and its scholars traded notes with radio men who chased whispers between the stars. Some tell that in those days a courier arrived at a side gate with photographs that refused ordinary names. Scorched alloy like woven glass, symbols curved as if written for hands with extra patience. A Monsignor prayed, then filed them where the ink would never fade. Why would Rome care about a desert crash? Because faith is a map, and new continents unsettle borders. If visitors had touched Earth, doctrine might need a larger shore. Better, perhaps, to shelter the question until its tide could be read. So statements flowed, cautious, polite, always smaller than the rumor. Meanwhile, boxers traveled samples sealed, copies of field notes, interviews taken by men who never signed. Did the Vatican hide proof? Or did it guard uncertainty, keeping panic from the pews, while nations tested stories like alibis? Either way, the pattern holds. Collect, compare, wait. In a ledger, someone wrote only phenomenon under discernment. Until then, the corridors keep their hush, and the questions keep walking slowly. And somewhere, in a drawer that opens like a secret breath, a sliver of impossible metal rests on velvet, cool as moonlight. It waits, as Rome does, for a night when the heavens explain themselves. On a winter evening, a candle gutters in a study, and a young scholar leans over a page that rearranges the heavens. The earth, he writes, is not the stage but a traveler circling, not centered. When Copernicus's book finally slips into the world, it goes out with a cushion, a careful preface suggesting it is only a mathematical trick, a useful fiction for calculating seasons. The idea steps softly so it may pass the guards, but telescopes arrive like new verbs. Galileo tilts glass toward the night and finds moons swinging around Jupiter, a tiny dance that mocks old diagrams. He sketches shadows nibbling Venus, proof that the planet curls around the sun. His letters gain edges. His voice grows plain. The sky, he insists, has told us what it is. The Vatican listens, then clears its throat. A warning first, then a trial. Truth, they say, must wait for its proper clothes. In chambers where parchment smells of iron gall and rain, officials weigh two fears: chaos in the pews if the universe moves, and scandal if inquiry outruns obedience. The index tightens. Certain pages are asked to sleep. Galileo kneels, recites the words that keep him breathing free air, and returns home under watch, where he keeps listening to tides that answer the moon. Control works quietly. Approvals, licenses, permissions keys that decide which questions may travel. The result is not silence but delay. A generation raised on an older sky. Atlas is corrected in pencil first, then in ink. And yet the night remains patient. Stars keep their roots whether blessed or banned. Long after gavel and seal, the planets continue like ours. What changed is how long it took to admit what was already shining. Between faith and discovery stretched a walkway of caution, and the Church held the lantern low, deciding when the path could be seen. Across centuries, the Vatican learned to speak in the tense that endures. It gathered gospels and closed drawers, chose feast days and silences, tuned the hymns so the public melody would not drift. A creed here, an imprimatur, and the story of salvation walked in step, lanterns placed where eyes should rest. What was preserved felt timeless. What was postponed felt forgotten. Either way, Rome kept the index to the past. This power is not only dogma, it is editing. It decides which memory becomes architecture and which becomes a footnote. A relic on display turns into a nation's heartbeat. A document withheld turns into rumor that sleeps. People inherit meaning the way they inherit calendars, and both arrive stamped with a seal. Yet control is never complete. Dessert jars reopen themselves. Telescopes widen the nave of the night. Voices once trimmed return with vows and ask for a seat at the same table. The Vatican can pace the corridor, but it cannot slow the stars. Deep within the labyrinthine walls of the Vatican, behind doors that have never felt the weight of light, there is a relic whispered about in hushed tones. This is not just another holy artifact, a relic, venerated for its connection to the divine, but a powerful object so dangerous that its very existence has been kept shrouded in secrecy. Scholars, historians, and even the highest-ranking clergy speak of it only in the most guarded circles, and those few who have even come close to its location are bound by vows of silence that extend beyond death. The artifact's legend is as old as the Vatican itself, though its true origins are clouded in mystery. Some say it was recovered during the Crusades, hidden from prying eyes after being found in the tomb of an ancient king. Others claim it dates back to the early days of Christianity, perhaps even to the time of Christ. What is certain is that the artifact holds a power unlike anything the world has ever known. Its influence is said to extend beyond the realm of the spiritual, touching upon the very fabric of reality itself. Some believe it can manipulate time. Others claim it can open gateways to other dimensions, while still others whisper that it contains the secret to controlling the fate of empires. So why has the Vatican gone to such lengths to keep it hidden? The answer lies not in its sacredness, but in its danger. This artifact is not something to be revered. it is something to be feared. If revealed, its power could reshape the course of history in ways that no one, neither Pope nor King, could ever fully predict. The Vatican's control over the object is not about preserving its sanctity, but about keeping it locked away from those who might seek to exploit it. The artifact's exact nature is a closely guarded secret, but its potential to destabilize the very foundations of power, religious, political, and scientific, makes it one of the Vatican's most closely guarded possessions. Throughout the centuries, only a select few have even come close to its resting place. Some say it lies deep within the archives, hidden among centuries-old manuscripts and documents that no one has dared to open. Others believe it is buried beneath the Vatican itself, in catacombs that stretch far deeper than any public map suggests. What makes this relic so dangerous? Could it be a fragment of the true cross, imbued with mysterious, otherworldly powers? Or perhaps an artifact from an ancient civilization, long forgotten, that possesses the knowledge to alter humanity's understanding of the universe? Whatever it is, its power is undeniable, and its secrecy is absolute. The Vatican has kept its secrets locked behind walls and vaults. But as the centuries pass, the question remains, what lies beneath the Vatican, and what could be the true cost of uncovering its greatest hidden treasure? The hunt for the truth begins here, in the shadow of the Vatican's most dangerous artifact. The artifact hidden beneath the Vatican is cloaked in such secrecy that speculation about its nature runs wild. Scholars, mystics, and conspiracy theorists alike have woven a tapestry of theories, each offering a tantalizing glimpse into what could lie behind the locked doors and sealed vaults of the Vatican's deepest archives. One theory suggests that the artifact is an ancient relic, possibly from a long-lost civilization, perhaps Atlantis, or even the pre-Christian world. Could it be a piece of forbidden knowledge passed down through generations, from a civilization that wielded extraordinary power? Some believe it is a fragment of an ancient artifact, perhaps a weapon of unimaginable strength that was buried beneath the Vatican to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. This theory hinges on the idea that the Vatican, through centuries of political maneuvering, sought to keep the artifact's power hidden from those who might use it to reshape history. Another, perhaps even more intriguing theory, is that the artifact is not of earthly origin at all. Could it be a relic containing divine knowledge, directly tied to the origins of Christianity, or even the mysteries of creation itself? Some speculate that the artifact holds the key to understanding the true nature of the universe, a piece of divine wisdom that could transform humanity's understanding of life, faith, and existence. This knowledge, if revealed, could potentially challenge centuries of religious dogma and redefine our understanding of the divine. No matter what the artifact truly is, its power, potential, and secrecy suggest that it has the ability to influence history on a scale unlike anything the world has seen before. Whatever its true nature, the artifact is not just a relic. It is the key to a mystery that remains tantalizingly out of reach. What if the Vatican's silence on the artifact isn't just about preserving faith or protecting its sacred traditions, but about keeping a dangerous secret from the world? There are those who believe that the Church, with its immense influence over both the spiritual and political realms, has actively suppressed information about the artifact to prevent humanity from understanding its true power. But why go to such lengths? The artifact, some argue, could contain knowledge or power so profound that revealing it could destabilize the very foundation of modern society. Imagine a relic that holds the key to technologies lost to history, or knowledge that challenges accepted religious and scientific doctrines. The Vatican, it is said, may fear the public's reaction if such revelations were to come to light, particularly if that knowledge fundamentally alters humanity's understanding of existence itself. What would happen if the artifact were exposed to the world? If the relic held the kind of divine wisdom that some speculate, it could undermine centuries of religious teachings and bring into question the authority of the Vatican itself. It might shake the faith of billions, leaving believers to grapple with the possibility that their sacred truths are only part of a much larger, more complex reality. Alternatively, if the artifact were an ancient weapon or device with unimaginable power, the Vatican may be keeping it hidden, not only to preserve its own influence but to prevent the wrong hands from exploiting it. Such power could tip the balance of global politics or lead to chaos on an unprecedented scale. For now, The Vatican's vaults remain sealed, and the world can only speculate, what is the Vatican keeping from us, and what would happen if the artifact were ever uncovered. Throughout history, the Vatican has been linked to a number of powerful and mysterious artifacts, some of which are believed to have influenced the course of empires, wars, and even the fate of the world itself. Among the most famous of these is the Spear of Destiny, a relic that allegedly pierced the side of Christ during the crucifixion. Over the centuries, the spear was said to possess immense power, granting its wielder the right to rule the world. Adolf Hitler, in particular, believed in the spear's power, and it is rumored that he sought to possess it to secure his dominance over Europe. Some say that it was hidden by the Vatican during World War II to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. But the true location of the Spear of Destiny remains a mystery, leaving many to wonder whether the Vatican still holds it or whether it was destroyed to prevent its influence from reshaping history. Another artifact shrouded in mystery is the Holy Grail, the cup that is believed to have held the blood of Christ during the Last Supper. For centuries, the Grail has been the subject of religious fervor, legend. Some believe it was hidden by early Christian communities, and that the Vatican has secretly kept it locked away for centuries. The power of the Grail is said to extend far beyond its mere physical form. It is believed to contain the power to grant eternal life, heal the sick, and possibly even control the very nature of existence itself. The myth of the Grail has inspired numerous quests and expeditions, yet the Vatican's role in either safeguarding or concealing its true location remains unclear. Then there are the Shrouds of Turin, the burial cloth that many believe was used to wrap Christ's body after his crucifixion. While its authenticity has been widely debated, the Vatican has never allowed full, unimpeded scientific analysis of the shroud, maintaining strict control over its study. Some theorize that this secretive approach may be a deliberate attempt to conceal truths hidden within the fabric, such as evidence of miraculous events, or even scientific anomalies that might change the pitch of understanding of history itself. These artifacts, whether steeped in myth or rooted in history, carry with them not just the weight of religious significance, but the suggestion that the Vatican has long held the keys to knowledge, power, and secrets that could change the world. The mere presence of such items raises the question, how much of history has been shaped by these relics? How many of the Vatican's greatest moments were tied not to faith alone, but to the hidden powers contained within its vaults? Each relic that remains under Vatican control adds another layer to the mystery, and as long as they remain hidden, the world can only speculate on their true significance and influence. Throughout history, many have speculated that the Vatican's most dangerous artifact is more than just a relic. It is a key to unlocking the future, tied directly to ancient prophecies concerning the end of times and divine intervention. Some claim that the artifact holds the power to fulfill or prevent these prophecies, serving as a pivotal instrument in the unfolding of humanity's fate. One of the most compelling theories ties the artifact to the ancient prophecy of the Book of Revelation, where it is said that certain sacred objects will play a role in the final battle between good and evil. In these texts, the appearance of an unknown artifact or reliquary of immense power heralds the return of a divine force or the rise of a malevolent entity. Could this artifact, hidden deep within the Vatican, be the very object described in these ancient scriptures? If so, its power could either pave the way for salvation or plunge the world into darkness. Other ancient prophecies, such as those attributed to the Maya or Nostradamus, also speak of a hidden object that will appear at the time of a great reckoning, artifact capable of altering the course of history. Some even believe that the Vatican, aware of this connection, has kept the artifact hidden to prevent it from being misused or to preserve its role in a future event. Could it be that the Vatican holds not only the past but the key to the future, as the world hurtles toward an uncertain future? The question remains, is this artifact truly the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, waiting to be revealed at the appointed time? If so, humanity's fate may depend on whether this relic is ever brought into the light, or whether it remains forever locked away in the shadows, hidden within the Vatican's hallowed halls. Far beneath the public eye exists a secretive order whose sole purpose is to protect the artifact, an object of unimaginable power and mystery. Little is known about this clandestine group, but whispers have persisted for centuries about those entrusted with its care. They are not merely clergy or scholars. but an elite cadre of individuals chosen for their loyalty, discretion, and unwavering commitment to keeping the artifact's existence and its dangerous power shielded from the world. Some believe that these protectors form an ancient society within the Vatican, possibly a reformed order of the Knights Templar, tasked not with the defense of treasure, but with safeguarding knowledge that could disrupt the fabric of reality itself. Others suggest that this group is composed of high-ranking Vatican officials, secret custodians operating under the Pope's direct command, who move in the shadows, ensuring that the artifact remains hidden at all costs. These guardians are said to operate within the deepest, most restricted sections of the Vatican. Their role is to prevent discovery, but also to ensure that the artifact is never misused. The Vatican's strict control over access to its archives and vaults, and the secrecy surrounding certain relics, only feeds into the mystery of their work. How do they keep such a potent relic from falling into the wrong hands? Who decides what is too dangerous for public knowledge? Rumors suggest that these guardians have sworn an oath, binding them in ways that are both spiritual and practical. They are the silent protectors, operating within the shadows of one of the most powerful institutions in the world. And as the years pass, they continued their work, guarding the artifact with a vigilance so deep. It is as if the very future of humanity rests in their hands. The question remains, who are these individuals, and how far are they willing to go to keep this ancient relic hidden from the world? For centuries, the search for the Vatican's most dangerous artifact has been the stuff of legend, yet whispers of its existence persist, driving a growing number of adventurers, scholars, and even conspiracy theorists to attempt uncovering its secrets. Theories abound about its location, its purpose, and the hidden powers it may possess. Some believe it rests deep within the Vatican's archives, buried beneath layers of sacred manuscripts, and protected by centuries of secrecy. Others speculate that it lies within the catacombs beneath the city, shielded from prying eyes, and hidden away in the labyrinth of ancient tunnels. Regardless of the location, the search continues quietly, persistently, and with increasing urgency. Over the years, there have been a number of failed attempts to uncover the artifact. Archaeologists, driven by an insatiable curiosity, have launched expeditions in the hopes of discovering something that could change the course of history. But the Vatican, ever vigilant, has kept its gates closed, its archives sealed. Many historians have noted the eerie lack of access to certain parts of the Vatican, where forbidden knowledge is said to rest. Scholars often speak of the layers of bureaucracy and the veils of secrecy that protect certain areas of the Vatican, making it nearly impossible to even request permission to investigate. Beyond academic pursuits, more clandestine operations have also sought to uncover the artifact, from underground groups with their own agendas to intelligence agencies with interests in the Vatican's mysterious role in global politics. It's clear that many believe the artifact could hold the key to untold power. As the years pass, the question lingers: how close are we to unearthing the truth? Will the artifact ever be revealed, or is it destined to remain hidden, locked away in the deepest shadows of history? Only time will tell if the world is ready to face what lies beneath the Vatican. The discovery of the Vatican's most dangerous artifact would be a moment that could fundamentally alter the course of history, religion, and human understanding. For centuries, this relic has remained hidden, its power and potential locked away, far from the eyes of the public. But should it ever be revealed, the consequences could be profound, shaking the very foundations of belief, knowledge, and power structures that have defined human civilization. That at the heart of the potential upheaval lies the artifact's purported divine or otherworldly origins. If it was shown to contain knowledge or power beyond our current understanding, it could force a re-evaluation of everything humanity has held as sacred. For centuries, religious institutions have shaped narratives of creation, existence, and divine intervention. The revelation of an artifact that directly challenges or expands these teachings could alter the way billions view their faith, their connection to the divine, and the role of religion in their lives. Would belief systems built on millennial doctrines crumble, or would they adapt, incorporating the newfound knowledge into a broader understanding of the divine? Moreover, the artifact's power could spark a scientific revolution comparable to the discoveries of Copernicus or Newton. If the artifact contains advanced knowledge, perhaps from a lost civilization, or even extraterrestrial origin, it might unlock new understandings of the universe, physics, and the nature of reality itself. Imagine the implications for technology, medicine, or even human consciousness. Could it offer solutions to age-old problems such as disease, aging, or even the limitations of human cognition? The possibility that such knowledge could reshape modern society is both exhilarating and terrifying. At the same time, the unveiling of this artifact could destabilize political power. Historically, knowledge has been power, and for centuries, the Vatican has carefully guarded both religious and historical narratives. The exposure of an object that holds such significant power could empower new factions, rival religions, or global movements, each eager to seize control of its potential. The Vatican's influence over world affairs could be challenged, leading to shifts in global alliances and conflicts. Ultimately, the discovery of this artifact might force humanity to confront uncomfortable truths about its place in the universe. Are we alone? What is the true nature of divinity? And perhaps most profoundly, what is our purpose in this vast, interconnected cosmos? These questions, which have plagued humanity for millennia, might finally find answers, but at what cost? The revelation of the Vatican's hidden artifact could lead to a new chapter in human history, one that demands both awe and caution, as it reshapes our understanding of the world and our place within it. The Vatican's decision to keep the artifact hidden for so long raises an unsettling question. Why? What could be so dangerous, so powerful, that the most influential religious institution in the world would go to great lengths to keep it buried from the public eye? The answer may lie not in the artifact's power, but in its potential to disrupt everything the Vatican has worked to preserve for centuries. One possibility is that the artifact contains knowledge that would challenge the very foundations of religious belief. If it were shown to possess truths about God, creation, or the universe, truths that contradict or expand upon established doctrine, it could unravel centuries of teachings. The Vatican has always prided itself on controlling the narrative of Christianity and its theological authority. If the artifact holds the potential to reshape or redefine these core beliefs, the Vatican may fear the chaos and division that such revelations could cause. After all, faith is delicate, and a single revelation could fracture a unified belief system that has sustained billions. Another motive for concealment could be the artifact's power. If the relic is not merely a symbol, but an object with tangible influence, be it a tool of divine intervention or a source of unimaginable power, the Vatican may believe that it is too dangerous for the world to wield. Like any institution that guards powerful knowledge, the Vatican could view the artifact as something that must remain in the shadows to prevent its misuse by those who seek to control or exploit it. Ultimately, the Vatican's decision to keep the artifact hidden may be driven by a desire for control, not only over its followers, but over the very course of history itself. By keeping the artifact secret, the Vatican ensures that it remains the ultimate authority, controlling the flow of knowledge and power. Whether out of fear, duty, or self-preservation, the Vatican has chosen to keep the artifact locked away, preserving its monopoly on truth, while the world remains unaware of the potential upheaval that one relic could cause. The search for the Vatican's hidden artifact is far from over. Each step taken, every whisper uncovered, only deepens the mystery. The artifact remains locked away, its secrets still beyond our reach, guarded by centuries of silence and secrecy. But the questions continue to grow louder. What is the true nature of this relic? What power does it possess? And what could it mean for the future of humanity? As we peel back the layers of history, we begin to uncover clues that hint at even greater secrets buried beneath the Vatican. New theories emerge, old accounts resurface, and hidden doors creak open, offering glimpses into a past that has been carefully concealed for reasons we can only begin to understand. But we are not alone in this search. Shadowy figures, powerful organizations, and even intelligence agencies are also on the trail, each with their own motives and agendas. The stakes are rising, and as we inch closer to the truth, the danger grows ever greater. What lies ahead in this journey? What will we discover as we delve deeper into the heart of the Vatican's most dangerous secret? The answers are just beyond our grasp, but one thing is certain: the truth is waiting, and the journey to uncover it is only just beginning. The Vatican, with its centuries-old legacy, stands as a beacon of spiritual authority and moral guidance for over 1 billion people. But beneath the surface of its religious influence lies a much more complex and, at times, mysterious role in global politics. While the Church has always claimed neutrality, its political reach and influence extend far beyond the confines of St. Peter's Basilica. The Vatican's power to shape global events is not merely based on faith, has consistently played a key role in geopolitics, influencing decisions that have altered the course of history. The Vatican's influence stretches back to the Middle Ages, when it held sway over monarchs and kings. Through papal decrees and political alliances, it shaped the rise and fall of empires. But even in more modern times, the Vatican's ability to maneuver through the corridors of power has been astonishing. From the secretive Vatican diplomacy during World War II, which played a significant role in negotiating between the Axis powers and the Allies, to its silent but undeniable influence during the Cold War, the Church's ability to sway political tides is undeniable. One of the most striking examples of the Vatican's covert political influence occurred in the 1980s, when Pope John Paul II, a Polish pope, played an instrumental role in the collapse of the Soviet Union. His support for the Solidarity movement in Poland, along with his clandestine meetings with political leaders, provided moral and spiritual backing that empowered millions to resist communist control. The Vatican's quiet role in this global shift was crucial, yet rarely discussed in the annals of history. In addition to these historical instances, the Vatican's diplomatic arm, the Holy See, has consistently maintained an active presence in international relations. It holds diplomatic relations with 183 countries and is involved in global decision-making, often behind the scenes. Vatican ambassadors, known as nuncios, engage in delicate negotiations, often influencing the policies of countries without their citizens even knowing the Church's hand is at play. This widespread influence is a testament to the Vatican's subtle yet powerful role in shaping global affairs. But what agenda does the Vatican have in mind for the world? Is it truly as neutral as it claims, or is there a hidden purpose behind its manipulation of political outcomes? Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the Vatican has been working behind the scenes to create a new world order, where the Church's authority becomes the central guiding force for all global matters. Others propose that the Vatican's real agenda involves maintaining control over the spiritual and temporal world, ensuring that it remains the key player in any political shift. We look at the Vatican's growing influence in contemporary global issues such as its stance on climate change, its involvement in global peace talks, and its position on the refugee crisis. The question remains, what is the Vatican's true purpose? Could it be more than just a religious institution? Is there a hidden agenda guiding its actions, shaping not only religious but global political affairs? The answers may be more elusive than we think, but the Vatican's shadowy influence on world events is a story that has only begun to unfold. The Crusades, a series of religious wars fought between the 11th and 15th centuries, are often portrayed as holy missions to reclaim Jerusalem and defend Christianity. However, beneath the surface of these religious wars lies a more complex and perhaps darker narrative, one in which the Vatican played a pivotal role, not merely as a spiritual leader, but as a strategic power player with its own political and territorial ambitions. The First Crusade, launched in 1096, was called by Pope Urban II, ostensibly to liberate the Holy Land from Muslim control. But the Vatican's involvement in the Crusades went far beyond religious fervor. As the Church rallied soldiers to fight for the cross, it simultaneously strengthened its own political influence. The Crusaders were not only fighting for religious causes, but also for land, power, and wealth. The Vatican, as the orchestrator of these campaigns, stood to gain substantial control over the lands and territories the Crusaders conquered, expanding its influence throughout Europe and the Middle East. The Vatican's role in these wars was not simply about spiritual conquest. It was about territorial expansion and consolidating power. Crusaders often established Latin states in the conquered regions. With the Church's blessing, the papacy itself gained access to vast lands, wealth, and military resources, all while cloaking its true ambitions under the banner of faith. Additionally, the Vatican leveraged the Crusades to exert control over rival Christian factions, using the wars to suppress heresies, enforce doctrinal purity, and assert its dominance over emerging powers like the Byzantine Empire. The religious fervor that fueled these wars masked the Vatican's broader goal, securing its dominance in Europe and beyond. The Crusades, then, were not just a battle for religious supremacy, but a strategic maneuver by the Vatican to reshape the political landscape of Europe, gain wealth and power, and extend its control over lands and peoples. This dark alliance between faith and conquest would leave a lasting legacy on the world, one that raises the question: how much of the Vatican's history has been shaped by a hidden agenda of control, manipulation, and territorial ambition? Throughout history, the Vatican has issued numerous papal edicts and secret orders, some of which were deliberately kept hidden from the public eye. These secret documents, often concealed in the Vatican's archives, have shaped not only religious doctrine but also global politics, manipulating the course of history in subtle, yet profound ways. The power behind these secret decrees is one that raises serious questions about the true reach and influence of the Vatican over both spiritual and temporal matters. One of the most famous examples of a hidden papal edict is a 1302 bull issued by Pope Boniface VIII, which asserted papal supremacy over all earthly rulers. While its public content was well known, secret interpretations of this document gave the Vatican a covert influence in political decision-making. These clandestine versions often included directives that were not meant to be shared with the broader population, suggesting that the Vatican could, and did, exercise political power without fully revealing its intentions. Further examples include papal edicts issued during the Middle Ages that authorized covert military actions and alliances. These hidden decrees would shape the Vatican's involvement in wars, crusades, and even the establishment of certain monarchies. While the official position was often one of neutrality or peace, behind closed doors, the Vatican was strategically aligning itself with powerful political factions, ensuring its influence extended across kingdoms and continents. Other secret documents have reportedly dealt with matters of diplomacy and control over the wealth of nations, issuing commands that were not intended to be known by the common people. The Vatican's ability to manipulate political landscapes through these hidden orders demonstrates just how much influence it has held, not only over the Church, but over the world's political and social fabric. As the pages of history turn, the existence of these secret papal edicts suggests that the Vatican's hand may have guided more events than we realize, events that, if fully revealed, could dramatically shift our understanding of the Vatican's true power and influence on the world stage. The question remains: how many more secrets lie hidden, and what would the world look like if they were ever uncovered? The Knights Templar, an order shrouded in mystery, have long been at the center of speculation and intrigue, particularly in relation to their complex and shadowy connection with the Vatican. Founded in the early 12th century during the Crusades, the Templars began as a monastic military order, tasked with protecting Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. Over time, their influence and power grew, and they amassed vast wealth, land, and political leverage. However, their rise also made them powerful adversaries to many, including the Vatican. For much of their existence, the Templars enjoyed the Vatican's favor. Their military prowess was crucial in the Crusades, and their charitable works helped to secure their position in the eyes of the Church. But beneath this surface of cooperation, a far more complex relationship brewed. The Templars were not only warriors but also guardians of secret knowledge, and it is believed that they were privy to ancient relics and treasures that, if revealed, could have threatened the Vatican's authority. The Templars' sudden fall in the early 14th century, led by Pope Clement V and the French King Philip IV, has long been seen as a betrayal. Philip, deeply in debt to the Templars, wanted their wealth and influence, and the Pope, perhaps under political pressure, disbanded the order in 1312, accusing them of heresy and blasphemy. Many historians suggest that the Vatican's role in the Templars' downfall was more than just a political move. Some speculate that the Vatican feared the order's access to ancient knowledge, including possibly sacred relics, like the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, which the Templars were rumored to have hidden away. The Vatican's involvement in the suppression of the Templars raises numerous questions. Did the Church have knowledge of the Templars' deeper, esoteric practices and decide to eliminate them to protect its own power? Did the Vatican feel threatened by the possibility of the Templar secret knowledge undermining its authority over religious teachings and the interpretation of sacred texts? And, most intriguingly, what treasures did the Templars hide before their downfall? The legend of the Templar treasure, whether it was gold, sacred relics, or secret manuscripts, has persisted for centuries. Some believe that the Vatican's suppression of the Templars was not just about their wealth, but about the potential threat they posed by holding knowledge that could challenge or even destroy the Church's tightly controlled narrative. The Templars' secretive nature and their connections to the Vatican only add to the mystery. Could the Vatican have been hiding more than just the Templars' gold? Were they concealing a history of power, relics, and knowledge that has never seen the light of day? The truth remains hidden, locked away in the shadows of history, perhaps forever. The fall of the Knights Templar remains one of the most dramatic and enigmatic moments in history, and the Vatican's role in their suppression is shrouded in both political maneuvering and religious intrigue. The Templars, once a powerful military and financial order, had become a formidable force by the early 14th century. They controlled vast wealth, land, and influence, making them both revered and resented. However, their sudden fall, orchestrated by Pope Clement V and King Philip IV of France, raises critical questions about the true motivations behind their destruction. In 1307, under the orders of King Philip, the Templars were arrested across France on charges of heresy, blasphemy, and sexual misconduct. Many believe that Philip, deeply in debt to the Templars and seeking to seize their wealth, manipulated the situation to bring about their downfall. However, the Vatican's complicity in the affair suggests that there were more profound religious and political factors at play. Pope Clement V, who was heavily influenced by Philip, issued a papal bull in 1312, formally dissolving the Templars and transferring their wealth to the hospital. While this move appeared to be a necessary act of compliance with the king, some historians argue that the Vatican's involvement was also driven by its desire to eliminate a growing rival. The Templars' independent power and their rumored possession of sacred relics, such as the Holy Grail or secret texts, may have posed a threat to the Vatican's authority. These relics, if ever revealed, could challenge the Vatican's control over religious knowledge and disrupt its monopoly on faith. The Vatican's role in the suppression of the Templars, then, seems to be about more than just political convenience. It may have been a strategic move to preserve the Vatican's dominance and eliminate an order that had grown too powerful, both politically and spiritually. The Templar secrets, whether they were treasures, knowledge, or sacred relics, remain hidden, leaving the question of what the Vatican truly wanted to protect unanswered. Behind the Vatican's carefully manicured facade lies a labyrinth of hidden influence, one that some believe is shaped not just by the Pope and the public church hierarchy, but by secret societies whose reach extends far beyond the Vatican's walls. These covert orders, often operating within the folds of Vatican politics, have played a significant role in shaping the direction of the Church and, by extension, global affairs. While many of these societies maintain public legitimacy, their clandestine operations suggest a much darker and more complex agenda. Perhaps the most well-known of these secretive groups is the Society of Jesus, better known as the Jesuits. Founded in the 16th century, the Jesuits were originally tasked with defending the Catholic faith and educating the faithful. However, over time, the order grew into one of the most powerful and influential forces within the Vatican. Their far-reaching influence, especially in the realms of education, politics, and global diplomacy, has often led to speculation that the Jesuits have wielded a covert hand in shaping the Vatican's hidden agenda. Their devotion to the papacy is unquestionable, but some suggest their true power lies in their ability to operate behind the scenes, subtly steering the Church's direction while maintaining an air of piety and humility. Beyond the Jesuits, rumors abound of other lesser-known secret societies embedded within the Vatican, each with its own hidden motives. These societies are said to work together or sometimes against each other to manipulate religious and political events in ways that benefit the Vatican's broader objectives. Could these groups be behind the Vatican's covert involvement in global politics, manipulating world leaders and shaping history for their own purposes? As with all secret societies, the truth remains elusive. What power do these hidden hands truly hold? And what secrets do they protect? Secrets that could forever change the way we view the Vatican and perhaps the world itself. The existence of such societies suggests a deeper, more enigmatic agenda at play, one that may continue to shape the course of history in ways we have yet to fully understand. For centuries, the Vatican has been rumored to hold secret records that could completely alter our understanding of human history. Beneath its sacred vaults, some believe, are ancient texts and artifacts that trace the origins of civilizations far older than what mainstream history acknowledges. These records could contain knowledge of cultures and peoples that existed long before recorded history, advanced societies that possessed technology, wisdom, and understanding far ahead of their time. Why, then, has the Vatican kept these discoveries hidden? One of the most widely speculated areas of suppressed knowledge is the Vatican's possible access to records of ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians, with their mysterious pyramids, hieroglyphics, and profound knowledge of astronomy and mathematics, are believed to have left behind secrets that could challenge our current understanding of the ancient world. Some believe the Vatican possesses ancient Egyptian manuscripts, perhaps texts that reveal even deeper insights into their advanced society and its connections to the divine. Such knowledge, if made public, could completely reshape our view of ancient history and our understanding of human achievement. Equally intriguing are the theories surrounding Atlantis, the mythical lost city that some believe was a thriving, advanced civilization before disappearing in antiquity. Many suggest that the Vatican has access to records or artifacts that link Atlantis to early Christian traditions, possibly revealing connections between this ancient culture and the Church's early formation. If these records exist, they would pose a significant challenge to the historical narrative of human civilization. Beyond Egypt and Atlantis, there are rumors of the Vatican holding ancient knowledge from other long-lost cultures, societies whose accomplishments were erased by time, war, or natural disaster. The suppression of such knowledge, it is suggested, could be the Vatican's attempt to maintain control over the narrative of humanity's history. If such discoveries were revealed, it might shatter the foundations of both religious and historical institutions. The question remains, what is the Vatican hiding, and why? What secrets about our ancient past have been kept locked away, awaiting discovery or suppression for future generations? Throughout history, the Vatican has maintained a tight grip on religious art, symbols, and iconography, shaping the way Christianity is perceived and understood by billions around the world. But what if these masterpieces, celebrated for their beauty and devotion, hold more than just religious messages? Could they be vehicles for hidden meanings, symbols, or secret messages that the Vatican has carefully concealed or, perhaps, used to influence and control the masses? From the awe-inspiring frescoes of the Sistine Chapel to the meticulous sculptures of Michelangelo, the Vatican has been at the forefront of commissioning and preserving some of the world's most iconic works of religious art. But these works were not simply created to inspire devotion. They were tools of messaging, and possibly even control. Artists like Raphael and Leonardo da Vinci, often working under papal patronage, embedded complex symbolism into their work, symbols that go beyond mere religious themes. Some believe that certain paintings and sculptures were designed to transmit covert knowledge, encoded in allegories, numerology, or hidden imagery. The depiction of certain biblical scenes, such as the creation of Adam or the Last Supper, has often been the subject of debate. Some theorists argue that these works contain veiled references to esoteric knowledge, or even to lost teachings of early Christianity. Could the Vatican have deliberately fostered a visual language that communicated hidden truths to those with the knowledge to decipher them? Symbols such as the serpent, the all-seeing eye, and the use of sacred geometry can also be found throughout the Vatican's art. These symbols are often associated with ancient mysteries, secret societies, and esoteric traditions. Could these images have been incorporated into the religious narrative as a subtle form of spiritual or political manipulation, directing followers toward particular ideologies while keeping others in the dark? The question remains, why did the Vatican exert such control over religious art and symbols? Was it solely to promote a unified message of faith, or was there a deeper, more deliberate agenda at play, one that used art as a means to influence, conceal, and guide the spiritual journey of millions? The hidden messages within these works, if revealed, could change the way we view both art and religion. offering a glimpse into a world of knowledge long kept secret. For centuries, the Vatican has been the subject of intrigue and speculation, and with its vast power and centuries of secrecy, it's no surprise that a multitude of conspiracy theories has emerged. Some of these theories are wildly imaginative, while others carry hints of truth that challenge our understanding of history and the Vatican's true role in global affairs. Here are a few of the most intriguing conspiracies that have captured the imagination of countless people over the years. One of the most compelling conspiracy theories involves the Vatican's supposed knowledge of extraterrestrial life. There have been numerous claims that the Vatican possesses secret knowledge about alien civilizations, with some suggesting that it has even had direct contact with extraterrestrial beings. This theory is often fueled by the Vatican's interest in astronomy's observatories and the influential Jesuit priests who have contributed to scientific research. Could the Vatican be hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life, waiting for the right moment to reveal this truth to the world? Some believe that the Church's silence on the issue is part of a larger strategy to control the flow of knowledge and maintain its authority over the masses, preventing the revelation from shaking the very foundations of religion. Another popular theory suggests that the Vatican has long concealed ancient knowledge, possibly connected to lost civilizations like Atlantis, or even advanced technologies far beyond our current capabilities. According to these theories, the Vatican has amassed a hidden collection of texts, artifacts, and relics, some of which contain wisdom and technologies that could revolutionize our understanding of the world. These relics are said to be far more than mere religious symbols. They may contain secrets about the origins of humanity or the nature of the universe itself. The Vatican's refusal to allow unrestricted access to its vast archives only fuels these speculations, with many believing that there is a deliberate cover-up to prevent the truth from being discovered. Furthermore, some conspiracy theorists point to the Vatican's secretive political influence, suggesting that it has been involved in shaping world events for centuries. From its covert role in the fall of the Knights Templar to its influence during the two world wars, many believe that the Vatican has manipulated global politics to maintain its power. Some even suggest that the Vatican has played a hidden role in orchestrating major historical events, from the formation of global alliances to the orchestration of wars, all in the name of preserving the Church's dominance in the world. While these conspiracy theories remain speculative, they also reflect the deep-seated suspicion that surrounds the Vatican and its long-held secrets. Are these theories based on real evidence, or are they simply the product of imagination? The truth, like many of the Vatican's deepest mysteries, remains locked behind walls of secrecy, leaving us to wonder whether some of these ideas could hold a kernel of truth, waiting to be uncovered. Beneath the marble floors and grand vaults of the Vatican, something remains hidden, locked away from prying eyes. For centuries, the Church has maintained a stranglehold on knowledge, carefully curating what the world is allowed to see and understand. But what lies beneath the surface, buried in the deepest chambers, behind sealed doors and forgotten archives? Could it be that the Vatican's ultimate secret, something more powerful, more dangerous than anything we've uncovered so far, is still concealed within its walls? What if the artifact we've searched for isn't the only hidden relic, but part of a much larger, more profound truth about the history of humanity, the divine, and perhaps even the cosmos itself? The deeper we go, the more questions arise. Why has the Vatican chosen to keep these truths hidden? What could be so world-altering that it has been concealed for centuries, or even millennia? The Vatican's most dangerous artifact has a history as mysterious and complicated as the institution itself. Though its true origins remain clouded in secrecy, whispers of the artifact's presence have circulated for centuries. Some believe it dates back to the earliest days of Christianity, possibly linked to events surrounding the crucifixion of Christ, while others argue it is far older, originating from a long-lost civilization that existed before recorded history. One of the most popular theories surrounding the artifact's origins is that it was crafted during the time of the Roman Empire. Some suggest it was an object of incredible power, either a weapon or a relic, designed by an ancient civilization to control or harness a force far beyond our understanding. Its purpose was to alter the course of history, perhaps even to shape the destiny of the known world. As the centuries passed, its ownership changed hands multiple times, often in secret. The artifact is said to have been discovered in an ancient temple, possibly in the Near East, in the early centuries of the Christian era. It is rumored to have been passed from one powerful figure to another, emperors, kings, and even popes, each guarding it carefully, knowing that its power could not fall into the wrong hands. The artifact's journey through history is marked by a series of dramatic events and crises. It is said to have been used by figures like Constantine the Great, who, in his pursuit of consolidating power within the Roman Empire, believed the artifact could give him divine favor. Whether he truly understood its power, or was simply following divine guidance, is lost to time. But its role in shaping political fortunes is undeniable. By the time it reached the Vatican's hands, centuries of intrigue and mystery had already surrounded the artifact. Some historians argue that it was brought to the Church under the reign of Pope Pius II, who sought to consolidate the Church's influence over Europe and the broader world. The artifact's presence within the Vatican became a closely guarded secret, one known only to a few of the highest-ranking officials within the Church. What made the artifact so dangerous was not just its ability to influence political power, but the knowledge it potentially contained. Some believe it holds the key to ancient esoteric wisdom, knowledge that could challenge everything humanity believes about history, the origins of life, and the nature of the universe. This knowledge, if uncovered, could unravel centuries of established religious doctrine and challenge the Vatican's authority, creating a fundamental shift in the understanding of faith, science, and existence itself. As the years passed, the Vatican's grip on the artifact tightened. It became not just a symbol of power, but a tool that could alter the very course of history. The Church has guarded it with an iron will, ensuring that its secrets remain locked away, because they understand how perilous it could be for the world to truly comprehend its potential. The artifact's journey through time remains one of the Vatican's darkest and most carefully preserved secrets. Its true power, whether physical, spiritual, or intellectual, remains an enigma. But one thing is clear: the Vatican has kept it hidden for a reason. Whatever it is far more than a mere relic. It is a force, a secret that has shaped the course of history, and will continue to do so for as long as it remains under lock and key. The history of this artifact is just the beginning of a much larger mystery, one that may finally be unraveling, if only we are brave enough to seek its truth. The Vatican's most dangerous artifact is not merely a relic of historical significance. It is said to possess powers that could defy human comprehension. The secrecy surrounding it suggests that the artifact holds abilities so profound, so potentially world-altering, that its existence has been concealed from the public for centuries. What powers might this artifact possess, and why would the Vatican go to such lengths to keep it hidden? One theory suggests that the artifact holds supernatural abilities, tied to forces beyond our understanding. Some believe it has the ability to influence reality itself, manipulating the fabric of time and space. Could it have the power to alter the course of history, or even reverse events? Imagine a relic that could change outcomes, erase mistakes, or rewrite pivotal moments in human history. The Vatican's careful control over the artifact could be due to the immense danger it poses if misused. If the wrong person were to wield it, the consequences could be catastrophic. Others speculate that the artifact contains knowledge that transcends human understanding, perhaps secrets of the universe, hidden truths about the origins of life, or even the nature of existence itself. This knowledge could radically challenge everything humanity has come to believe about science, religion, and the cosmos. The Vatican's fear could stem from the potential upheaval this forbidden knowledge could cause if exposed to the masses, how it could shake the very foundations of faith, reason, and the established order. Finally, some theories suggest that the artifact has the power to manipulate human consciousness or spiritual energy. It could possess the ability to elevate the mind to a higher state, unlocking untapped potential or granting divine insight. While these powers would be awe-inspiring, they could also be profoundly dangerous if they fell into the wrong hands. This is perhaps why the Vatican, with its centuries of control over both religious and political power, has kept the artifact hidden away from the world. In the end, the true nature of the artifact's powers remains a mystery, locked behind layers of secrecy and guarded by a select few. But one thing is certain: its potential to change the course of history. and humanity's very understanding of the universe is immense. The Vatican knows this, and that is precisely why it remains hidden perhaps forever. The design of the Vatican's most dangerous artifact is said to be as mysterious as the secrets it holds. Every curve, engraving, and material choice could be intentional, a part of a deeper, hidden language that has remained concealed for centuries. Some believe that the artifact is not just a physical object, but a cryptic puzzle structure designed to encode knowledge, wisdom, or messages that have yet to be fully understood. One theory suggests that the artifact's intricate design is infused with ancient symbols, perhaps derived from lost civilizations such as Atlantis or early Mesopotamia. These symbols, etched into its surface or embedded within its structure, could carry meanings that transcend the languages of the time. Some scholars speculate that these designs are not just decorative, but serve as a code, perhaps a map, a formula, or even a set of instructions waiting to be decoded. It's possible that the Vatican, recognizing the artifact's potential power, has guarded the knowledge of its design to prevent others from unlocking its true meaning. Could these hidden messages contain the key to lost or forbidden knowledge? Some theorists believe that within the artifact's design lies a form of ancient wisdom, perhaps a guide to understanding the universe, unlocking human potential, or even accessing realms beyond our own. These symbols could be tied to sacred geometry, astrology, or even forgotten mathematical formulas that could open doors to unimaginable power. The Vatican's long-standing control over the artifact suggests that it may have been aware of its encoded significance for centuries. If decoded, these messages could reveal truths that challenge everything humanity knows about our history, our place in the universe, and even the nature of existence itself. Is the artifact merely a relic, or is it a carefully crafted vessel, designed not just to be protected, but to reveal itself when the time is right? The Vatican's decision to keep its most dangerous artifact hidden is one wrapped in layers of secrecy and uncertainty. For centuries, this relic has remained locked away, its true power concealed from the public eye. But what drives the Vatican to maintain such a tight grip on this artifact? What are the real motivations behind its decision to keep it secret, and what could be the consequences of revealing it to the world? One of the primary reasons the Vatican likely keeps the artifact hidden is the fear of the profound impact its revelation could have on religious faith. If the artifact were shown to possess knowledge or power that could challenge established religious teachings, the Vatican's authority might be shaken to its core. The artifact could potentially prove that the origins of Christianity, or even the universe itself, are vastly different from the narratives that have been passed down through the Church for centuries. A revelation like this could result in mass disillusionment, fracturing the faith of billions of followers and undermining the religious structure that the Vatican has carefully built and maintained. But the potential impact isn't limited to religion alone. The artifact's power could extend to the political sphere as well. The Vatican has long been a key player in global diplomacy and politics, quietly influencing world events. If this artifact holds the key to lost knowledge or technology that could revolutionize science, medicine, or energy, its exposure could disrupt the current power balance. Governments and global elites may not want such transformative knowledge to enter the public domain, fearing that it could destabilize economies, challenge the authority of political structures, or change the trajectory of human progress in ways that are impossible to predict. Another key factor in the Vatican's decision to keep the artifact hidden is the potential for its misuse. If the artifact possesses the ability to manipulate time, space, or consciousness, it could be a weapon of unimaginable destruction. In the wrong hands, its power could cause chaos on a global scale, potentially altering the course of history in ways that could not be undone. Even the Vatican, with its vast knowledge and control, may be unable to fully understand or contain the consequences of revealing such a force to the world. Finally, there is the question of control. The Vatican has spent centuries curating its influence over religious, political, and social matters. The artifact, if revealed, could shift the balance of this power, allowing new players or movements to arise with access to knowledge that was once reserved for the highest echelons of the Church. The Vatican may prefer to keep such a potent tool of influence hidden, ensuring that it retains its central role in shaping the world's future. The truth remains locked away. But one thing is clear: the consequences of revealing this artifact could change the course of history. The Vatican, in its silence, is safeguarding not just a relic, but the very foundation of human understanding and the potential to reshape the world in ways we can't even begin to comprehend. The Vatican's most dangerous artifact is not just a relic of historical significance. It may be the key to fulfilling or preventing ancient prophecies that have been passed down through countless cultures and religions, across millennia. From the prophecies of the Bible to the enigmatic visions of ancient cultures, there has been a recurring theme, a mysterious object, a hidden force, or a moment of divine revelation that will determine humanity's ultimate fate. Could this artifact be the object foretold to shape the end of times, divine intervention, or humanity's ultimate destiny? In the Christian tradition, the Book of Revelation speaks of an event known as the Apocalypse, a time of great upheaval, destruction, and transformation. Some believe that the artifact could be the key to unlocking this final chapter of history, either hastening or preventing the fulfillment of these apocalyptic events. Could the artifact contain the power to usher in the prophesied end times, or perhaps hold the means to avert a cataclysmic future? If the artifact is truly as powerful as many speculate, its role in such prophecies would be far from passive. It could either ignite the chain of events leading to the final judgment, or offer humanity a chance to rewrite its destiny. But the artifact's connection to ancient prophecies isn't limited to Christianity alone. Many ancient cultures, including the Mayans, Egyptians, and Sumerians, have left behind cryptic predictions regarding the fate of humankind. The artifact could be a relic tied to these ancient civilizations, a key to unlocking forgotten wisdom, or even preventing a long-predicted catastrophe. Its potential to bridge these ancient visions of destiny suggests that it is not just a symbol of the past, but a catalyst for the future. The artifact's role in these prophecies suggests that its power reaches far beyond the religious or historical. It may hold the ability to influence humanity's future in ways we are only beginning to understand. The Vatican's role in safeguarding it underscores its belief in the artifact's significance, and the question remains, will this artifact fulfill its prophesied role, or will it be hidden away forever to ensure that humanity never faces its final reckoning? The Vatican's decision to keep its most dangerous artifact hidden has sparked intense speculation. Is there a master plan in place for its eventual revelation? Could the Vatican be waiting for a specific moment in time, a carefully calculated event, when revealing the artifact will have the greatest impact on both the world and the Church itself? If so, what could that moment be? One possibility is that the Vatican has been waiting for the right alignment of political, social, or religious events. The artifact, with its potential to alter humanity's understanding of faith, history, and existence, could be revealed at a time when the world is most vulnerable or in need of guidance. Perhaps the Vatican believes that only in times of global upheaval, whether through war, ecological disaster, or societal collapse, would the artifact's full power be understood and respected. In this context, the artifact's revelation could serve to solidify the Vatican's authority, positioning the Church as the guiding force through a period of crisis. Another theory suggests that the Vatican may be waiting for a shift in the collective consciousness of humanity. As the world grows more interconnected, and the boundaries between science, spirituality, and philosophy blur, the Vatican might believe that the time is not yet ripe for such a revelation. The artifact, with its potential to challenge long-held religious and scientific truths, could cause chaos if the world is not prepared to absorb its implications. The Vatican may be waiting for a gradual, global transformation in thinking, a shift in understanding that will make the revelation seem inevitable rather than disruptive. Finally, there's the possibility that the Vatican is holding onto the artifact as a form of ultimate leverage. The Church has long been a power broker, and if the artifact can offer a transformative new understanding of humanity or the cosmos, it could be used as a trump card in future negotiations. The Vatican could be playing a long game, positioning itself for an eventual, carefully orchestrated moment of exposure, one that will reshape the world's spiritual and political landscapes forever. Whatever the true plan may be, the Vatican's silence only deepens the mystery. What is the Church waiting for, and what will happen when the moment comes to finally reveal the artifact? the secrets of the Vatican's long-term plan are likely just as closely guarded as the artifact itself, leaving the world to wonder if we will ever truly know its purpose. The Vatican's most dangerous artifact is not merely guarded by the Church's general security or its high-ranking clergy. It is likely protected by a secretive group, entrusted with the artifact's safety, hidden away from public view. Who are these guardians, and what makes them uniquely suited for the task of protecting a relic that could change the course of history? One possibility is that the guardians are members of an elite order within the Vatican, perhaps even a modern-day iteration of the ancient order of the Knights Templar. These individuals would be chosen not just for their loyalty to the Church, but for their ability to operate in the shadows, keeping the artifact hidden from the world. Their role would be a delicate balance: maintain the secrecy of the artifact while ensuring that it remains safe and protected from any threats, whether from outside forces or from those within the Vatican itself who might seek to exploit its power. It is also possible that the guardians are Vatican officials, but not necessarily those in the public eye. The Vatican is known for its intricate web of power and influence, and many of its highest-ranking officials operate behind closed doors, away from the spotlight. These individuals may be selected for their unquestionable loyalty to the papacy and their ability to protect the Church's most precious secrets. They may not even be known to the majority of the Vatican's hierarchy, reporting only to the Pope or a select few trusted members of the Curia. Why has the Vatican chosen such a secretive approach to guarding the artifact? The answer is simple: its power. This relic has the potential to shift the balance of power, both within the Vatican and on a global scale. To protect it from falling into the wrong hands, the guardians must remain silent, operating with a level of discretion that ensures the artifact's secrets are never revealed. The true identity of these guardians remains a mystery, as does their motivation for safeguarding such a powerful relic. But one thing is certain: the Vatican's most dangerous artifact is under the protection of individuals who have been entrusted with its most important secret, one that could change the future of humanity. And as the world continues to search for answers, the guardians continue to watch, waiting for the day when the artifact's true nature may finally be revealed. The relationship between the Vatican and military powers is often seen as distant or purely symbolic, but when it comes to the protection of the Vatican's most dangerous artifact, the involvement of military forces becomes a critical factor in ensuring its secrecy and safety. While the Vatican may appear politically neutral, its close ties to powerful military forces raise important questions about the level of protection afforded to the artifact. The Vatican, with its immense global influence and historical wealth, has long been a strategic asset in the geopolitical arena. As such, military forces, both internal and external, play a crucial role in safeguarding its most valuable and dangerous relics. The Swiss Guard, the Vatican's own military unit, is the most visible symbol of the Vatican's security apparatus. Although their role is typically ceremonial, there are rumors that the Swiss Guard is also tasked with guarding not just the Pope, but also the Vatican's most closely held secrets, including the artifact. Their loyalty and discipline make them ideal candidates for such a delicate job. However, it is not just the Swiss Guard that is involved in the protection of the artifact. Some theories suggest that the Vatican has forged covert partnerships with military powers outside its walls, using their resources and intelligence networks to monitor threats and prevent any potential attempts to uncover or steal the artifact. These alliances may involve discreet negotiations with powerful global entities, with the artifact's secrecy serving as a bargaining chip or a matter of mutual interest. The artifact's significance could have prompted the Vatican to leverage military influence in ways that go beyond typical religious duties. The Vatican's relationship with global military powers, whether formal or clandestine, suggests that the Church's ability to protect its darkest secrets is not limited to religious figures alone, but extends into the world of global politics and defense. What role does the military truly play in guarding this powerful relic? Could the Vatican be relying on its alliances with military forces to ensure the artifact's safety, or even to influence the course of history, should the need arise? These questions remain unanswered, but the shadowy intersection of faith and military power adds yet another layer of mystery to the artifact's protection. the public revelation of the Vatican's most dangerous artifact would be a moment of profound transformation, not just for the Church but for the world at large. Its exposure could trigger far-reaching consequences that would ripple through politics, religion, science, and humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The artifact, with its rumored power and ancient origins, has the potential to shift the very foundation of global power dynamics and beliefs in ways that we can only begin to imagine. One of the most immediate and obvious effects would be on the religious world. For centuries, the Vatican has held a monopoly on religious authority, carefully controlling the narrative of Christianity and shaping the beliefs of billions. If the artifact, with its unknown power or knowledge, were to be revealed, it could challenge the core tenets of Christian doctrine. The artifact may hold secrets that could undermine or expand upon current religious teachings, possibly offering proof of divine wisdom that was thought to be lost or hidden. This could lead to a global spiritual awakening, but also to deep confusion, schisms, and a crisis of faith for many. Entire theological systems could crumble, and millions of people might be forced to reconcile new understandings of God, creation, and existence. Politically, the exposure of the artifact could shake the global balance of power. If the artifact contains advanced knowledge, be it about technology, energy, or human consciousness, it could revolutionize industries and disrupt existing power structures. Governments and global elites would likely scramble to either claim ownership or discredit the artifact's power. Nations with access to this newfound knowledge could gain an enormous advantage, potentially upending international relations and economic systems. The Vatican's long-standing role as a political power broker could be either solidified or diminished, depending on how the artifact's revelation is perceived. On a broader scale, the artifact could force humanity to confront its place in the universe. If the artifact holds ancient wisdom, possibly dating back to lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial origins, it could challenge current scientific paradigms. Our understanding of history, space, time, and the very nature of reality could be radically altered. The revelation of such knowledge might unite humanity in a shared pursuit of truth, or it could drive a wedge between those who seek to exploit it and those who wish to protect its deeper meaning. Ultimately, the exposure of the Vatican's artifact could have a profound, irreversible effect on humanity's future. Whether it leads to enlightenment or chaos, it would mark a defining moment in human history, one that could change the course of civilization forever. What's certain is that the world would never be the same. The only question that remains is, when and under what circumstances will the world be forced to confront the truth behind this hidden relic? As we've uncovered so far, the Vatican's most dangerous artifact is more than just a relic. It is a key to secrets that have shaped history, hidden away for reasons that are still unclear. From its origins to its potential powers, the artifact is a puzzle with many pieces, each one leading us further down a shadowy path. But the question remains, what will be revealed next? As the layers of secrecy slowly peel away, we are left to wonder, what is the Vatican truly hiding? Is this artifact the catalyst for a revelation that could alter the course of history? Or is there something even darker and more powerful yet to be discovered? Could the Vatican's plans for its eventual exposure be closer than we think? What other secrets does it hold? And who besides the Vatican has an interest in ensuring that these truths never see the light of day? The answers may be just beyond our reach, but one thing is certain: this mystery is far from over. The exposure of the Vatican's most dangerous artifact and the deep secrets it holds could unleash a chain of events that would reverberate through global politics, religion, and the very fabric of society. While curiosity and the desire for truth drive many to uncover hidden knowledge, the risks of revealing such profound and potentially world-altering secrets are enormous. The Vatican, with its centuries of influence over billions of lives, holds a delicate balance of power. The revelation of the artifact and the knowledge it contains could trigger an unprecedented crisis, shaking the foundations of not only the Church but also the broader global system. One of the most immediate repercussions would be the challenge to the Vatican's authority. If the artifact contains knowledge or powers that directly contradict established religious doctrines, the faith of millions, if not billions, could be shattered. Long-held beliefs in divine providence, the nature of Christ, and the concept of salvation might be brought into question. What would happen to Christianity and its followers? If the truth behind the artifact shattered the carefully crafted narrative that has existed for over 2 millennia, such a revelation could lead to mass confusion and disillusionment. People have built their lives around religious institutions that promise guidance, meaning, and truth. If those institutions were found to have concealed the truth for power or control, it could lead to a complete breakdown of trust. Religious communities might fragment, with some rejecting the new revelations altogether, while others embrace the truths they've been denied. There could be schisms within the Church, similar to those seen during the Protestant Reformation, or even a complete collapse of traditional religious authority, leading to a rise of alternative spiritual movements, cults, and ideologies that might offer a different understanding of the divine or the universe. On a global scale, the exposure of the Vatican's secrets would send shockwaves through political power structures. The Vatican has long been a player in international diplomacy, using its vast influence to sway political decisions, broker peace treaties, and even shape global policies. If the artifact were revealed to have the power to alter the course of history, it could shift the balance of power, giving those in possession of the knowledge an enormous advantage. Nations, world leaders, and influential organizations might scramble to control or suppress the information, leading to a possible global power struggle. The Vatican's secrets might also expose hidden alliances, including its ties to powerful political figures, secret societies, or even extraterrestrial knowledge. As some conspiracy theorists suggest, these revelations could alter the course of history, sparking a new era of geopolitics, where access to sacred and hidden knowledge determines who holds power. If governments or corporations gained access to the artifact's powers or wisdom, it could create a dangerous arms race to control these new sources of influence. Finally, the public reaction to such revelations would likely be volatile. The shock of realizing that much of human history, especially religious and spiritual history, has been controlled, manipulated, or hidden, would cause chaos. People might feel betrayed by religious leaders, governments, or even by history itself. There could be protests, riots, and widespread unrest as individuals and groups wrestle with the implications of these new truths. The very concept of truth itself might be called into question as multiple conflicting narratives emerge. In the end, the unveiling of the Vatican's secrets, including its most dangerous artifact, could be a double-edged sword. While it may bring about enlightenment, it could also usher in a period of global uncertainty, religious disintegration, and political upheaval. The truth, once exposed, would change everything, but whether that change would be for the better or worse is a question that remains uncertain. The Vatican's strict control over its secrets, particularly the hidden artifact, speaks to a deep-rooted fear, the fear of losing its position as the ultimate religious authority. For centuries, the Church has held immense power over the spiritual, moral, and even political lives of billions of people. If the artifact were to be revealed, along with the knowledge and powers it supposedly contains, could unravel the very foundation of that authority, leaving the Vatican vulnerable and exposed. At the heart of this fear is the Vatican's control over faith. Religion, for centuries, has been a tool of power, offering not only spiritual guidance but also political leverage. The Vatican's control over sacred teachings, doctrines, and interpretations of God's will has granted it unparalleled influence. Should the artifact reveal truths that challenge or even contradict core religious beliefs, it could lead to mass disillusionment, eroding the trust that followers place in the Church. The Vatican's fear is that the exposure of these secrets could destabilize the centuries-old narrative that it has carefully constructed, causing a fracture in the global Catholic community. Moreover, the Vatican's position as a central power in global politics and diplomacy is tied to its role as the moral and spiritual leader of the world. If the artifact holds knowledge that alters humanity's understanding of the universe, it could potentially diminish the Vatican's authority in shaping global events. The revelation could empower secular forces or rival religious movements, threatening the Church's grip on power and its influence over world leaders. In the end, the Vatican's secrecy is likely driven by the profound fear of losing control not just over its followers, but over the very narrative of human history and destiny. The artifact is a symbol of power that the Vatican cannot afford to lose. The public revelation of the Vatican's dangerous artifact would undoubtedly send shockwaves across the globe, sparking reactions from every corner of society. The discovery of such a powerful, potentially world-altering relic would challenge not only the religious establishment, but the political, scientific, and cultural fabric of humanity itself. Governments worldwide would likely respond with a mix of disbelief, fear, and opportunism. Some countries, particularly those with strong religious ties, might initially dismiss the artifact's significance, seeking to protect their own established power structures. However, as the potential ramifications of the artifact's power became clearer, global leaders would likely scramble to control or exploit its secrets. Nations might vie for access to the Vatican's knowledge, either seeking to harness the artifact's powers for themselves or to suppress it, fearing the imbalance it could create. A new global arms race might emerge, not for weapons, but for control over ancient wisdom that could alter science, technology, and global politics. Religious groups would likely react with a mixture of awe, confusion, and conflict. Some would embrace the artifact as confirmation of their deepest beliefs, perhaps interpreting it as a divine message or proof of the sacred. Others, particularly those from competing faiths, might see it as a direct threat, leading to ideological battles over its meaning and significance. The exposure of truths that challenge established religious narratives could cause schisms within Christianity and between other major religions, leading to intense theological debates and possibly even violent clashes. For the general public, the revelation would be nothing short of earth-shattering. People's faith in established institutions, religious, political, and scientific, might crumble, replaced by uncertainty, confusion, or a thirst for the knowledge contained within the artifact. It could lead to mass movements, spiritual awakenings, or societal unrest as individuals and communities grapple with the sudden upheaval of everything they'd been taught to believe. In the end, the global reaction to the artifact's exposure would be one of profound transformation. It would challenge humanity to reconsider its place in the universe, its relationship to the divine, and the nature of knowledge itself. The aftermath would likely be a period of chaos and reinvention, as societies everywhere would struggle to adapt to the new. The reality that the artifact's revelation would create the Vatican's secrecy and the hidden artifact have long influenced modern religious thought in ways that are both subtle and profound. For centuries, the Vatican has carefully controlled not only the narrative of Christian faith, but also the theological boundaries within which believers operate. By controlling access to sacred knowledge and interpreting Scripture, the Vatican has shaped doctrines, rituals, and beliefs that have guided billions. But what if those carefully constructed teachings were suddenly challenged by the revelation of hidden truths? The potential exposure of the Vatican's secrets, especially if it pertains to the artifact, could destabilize centuries of established religious traditions and understandings. The artifact, with its alleged ancient knowledge or divine connection, might offer answers that contradict or expand upon current theological teachings. It could reveal truths about the origins of Christianity, the nature of God, or the very purpose of human existence, truths that the Vatican has kept hidden, either to protect its authority or because they were deemed too dangerous for public consumption. Modern religious thought has evolved largely within the framework provided by the Vatican and similar religious authorities. Christian theology, for example, has been shaped by centuries of papal influence, from the formulation of the Nicene Creed to the establishment of doctrines like the Immaculate Conception and papal the Vatican's control over these theological developments has given it a central role in guiding the direction of Christian faith. If the hidden artifact were revealed and challenged the very foundations of these teachings, it could lead to a crisis of faith for many. Religious communities would likely respond with shock, resistance, and deep reflection. For devout Catholics, the Vatican's teachings are not just matters of belief, but pillars of identity and tradition. The discovery of long-hidden knowledge could feel like an existential threat, undermining their understanding of sacred history. Some might reject the new information, clinging to the established doctrines they've known for centuries. Others, however, might embrace the new revelations, leading to divisions within the Church as different factions form around competing interpretations of what this new knowledge means for their faith. Other Christian denominations, and indeed other world religions, might also be profoundly impacted. If the Vatican's secrets were shown to be tied to ancient knowledge or artifacts that go beyond Christianity, It could challenge the very core of interfaith dialogue. Doctrines about creation, salvation, and the afterlife could be questioned or redefined, forcing religious leaders of all faiths to grapple with the implications of such revelations. The Vatican's role in religious thought has already faced scrutiny in modern times, with debates over issues like celibacy, LGBTQ+ rights, and the role of women in the Church. The exposure of its hidden knowledge could further catalyze these discussions, as religious communities are forced to confront not just social issues but the very core of their theological understanding. Ultimately, the revelation of the Vatican's secrets, particularly its hidden artifact, could lead to a seismic shift in how we understand not just Christianity, but the nature of religion itself. It would spark a global conversation about faith, truth, and the place of organized religion in a rapidly changing world. The consequences of such a revelation could be more than just theological. They could redefine how humanity relates to the divine, the sacred, and the very notion of truth itself. The Vatican has long been a master at controlling the narrative surrounding religious history, shaping the way billions of people understand Christianity, sacred texts, and the very nature of God. This power is not just spiritual but deeply political, influencing global affairs for centuries. The Vatican's ability to control how history is interpreted allows it to maintain its position as the ultimate authority on religious doctrine and truth. The secrecy surrounding the Vatican's most dangerous artifact is a crucial part of this narrative control, as the Church understands that revealing the truth could alter the very foundation of its authority. By controlling the story of religious history, the Vatican ensures that it remains the central figure in interpreting Scripture, divine will, and the meaning of life. It is through the careful curation of history that the Church has been able to maintain its sway over followers. From the canonization of saints to the selection of which texts are included in the Bible, the Vatican has shaped what is considered sacred, what is heretical, and what is lost to time. In this way, the Church has curated a version of history that supports its teachings and consolidates its power. The artifact, hidden away for centuries, represents a direct challenge to this control. If the artifact contains knowledge that conflicts with Church doctrine or reveals a version of history that contradicts the Vatican's narrative, its exposure could unravel centuries of religious authority. The Vatican's secrecy over the artifact is not merely about guarding an object, it is about controlling the narrative. If the truth of the artifact were revealed, it could fracture the Church's grip on global religious thought, shifting the balance of power in favor of new interpretations, new beliefs, and new authorities. In this context, the Vatican's need to suppress knowledge isn't just about preserving tradition, it's about maintaining its dominance over how the world understands religion, history, and divine truth. A prevailing conspiracy theory suggests that the Vatican is not merely a religious institution, but a central player in a much larger, shadowy, global agenda, one that aims to establish a new world order. According to this theory, the Vatican, with its immense wealth, influence, and history of political maneuvering, has long been pulling strings behind the scenes, shaping global political and economic systems to fit its own designs. The Vatican's role in such a grand conspiracy raises the chilling question: could the hidden artifact be a key element in this broader plan to control the world? The theory posits that the Vatican has been quietly fostering global control through alliances with powerful political elites, secret societies, and multinational corporations. As the religious heart of Christianity, it holds a significant sway over billions of people, but its real power is believed to lie in its access to ancient knowledge, financial resources, and the ability to manipulate international diplomacy. By steering global events from behind the curtain, the Vatican could be helping to engineer a new world order where it sits at the top, influencing global economies, governments, and even ideologies.